There I was having a grand old time playing through all the Simpsons games in chronological order when a certain announcement was made. After months of rumours, the Simpsons were officially going to be added into Fortnite with a Simpsons themed mini-season starting in November 2025. This season was only going to be around until the 29th of November, which means after that day, we would no longer be able to access the majority of the Simpsons content in the game. So here I am once again skipping ahead to cover Fortnite now, to ensure I can play it fully and give it a proper breakdown. The Simpsons bowling will have to wait until next time. I don't want to complain about new Simpsons video game content, but next time we get some, can there not be a time limit to play it? Unlike The Simpsons itself, I would like to finish this series at some point in the future. Okay, onto The Simpsons in Fortnite. When a show like The Simpsons goes on for as long as it has, it learns to adapt and change with the times. Where the Simpsons family had a CRT TV when it started, they upgraded to a HD flat screen some time ago. The backstory of each character has been brought forward in time as the show progresses, with Homer and Marge originally meeting in 1974, but now they're millennials, shifting to a completely different generation. The production of the show has changed too, switching to computer colouring for season 14, going full HD for season 20, and now there are certain episodes that are exclusive to streaming on Disney+. The Simpsons have had to update itself, both its content and production, to match the times, and regardless of the overall quality of the show, they have been able to successfully change many times as pop culture developed. The video games of course have had to undergo similar transformations. In the early 90s, when everything was a platformer, we got a wave of platformers from Acclaim. Once 3D gaming became the norm, they adapted by ripping off popular video game franchises with honestly very little shame. When licensed games on consoles fell out of favour, they adapted again with The Simpsons Tapped Out, creating a city builder on mobile that was regularly updated and filled with microtransactions. Tapped Out took over The Simpsons video games for nearly 13 years, meaning we didn't get to see The Simpsons continue to adapt with the rest of the video game industry. It doesn't mean they didn't try at all, as The Simpsons made its way into Minecraft, which is a massive franchise, and they even joined in the Toys for Life craze by featuring in LEGO Dimensions. Outside of that though, Tapped Out put The Simpsons video game franchise in a type of status, one that it can now re-emerge from now that Tapped Out has been shut down and EA seemingly has moved away from the franchise. With a second Simpsons movie recently announced, I don't think there was any doubt that Fox would want to make more Simpsons video games, but what kind of state are video games in 2025? Well, similar business practices seen in Tapped Out have now dominated a large amount of gaming on PC and consoles. Live service games are where people spend most of their time nowadays, emerging from online competitive games to create these forever games that have grown much bigger than I think anyone could have imagined. If you're a license that wants to be in a video game, it's more common to have a crossover with an established video game IP rather than trying to make your own game from scratch. Just like they have always done, The Simpsons have adapted to the new environment, which has led us to getting a mini-season of Simpsons content in the popular live service game Fortnite. Depending on what type of Simpsons fan you are, and let's be honest your age, will likely decide on your reaction to this news. As someone who doesn't play Fortnite, I can't say I was thrilled at the idea of playing what seemed to be a Gen Z nightmare. I'm here to be as fair as I can to Fortnite though. There's only so much I can judge it when I've been playing a live service game, Apex Legends, for over 5 years. The Simpsons in Fortnite also really isn't any different to what The Simpsons have always done when it comes to video games. Is this any different to the approach that gave us The Simpsons Hit and Run? GTA and open world games were very popular on the PS2, so they made a GTA version of The Simpsons. Fortnite and live service games are very popular now, so here we are again with The Simpsons jumping on the next popular thing. Criticizing the concept of The Simpsons in Fortnite would be to criticize the entire commercialization of the brand, which started before season 1 had even aired when Fox was making as many Simpsons t-shirts as they could. If you want to dismiss this side of the show, then I'll happily join you. Let's hang out and watch March vs. the Monorail while I tell you why I don't like the pink donuts. For everyone else though, it's the next evolution of The Simpsons changing with the times and appealing to fans of different ages. I'm going to go through all the Simpsons content that appeared in Fortnite. This is all coming from a Simpsons fan in their 30s and not a Fortnite fan, so please keep that in mind, as I am not here for Fortnite and my knowledge of the game is limited, and I won't be going into Fortnite specific details for this mini-season. For those who are in the same boat as me and don't really know much about Fortnite, let me try and summarise what it is. Fortnite started out essentially as a horde mode, where you could build your own structures and forts, hence the name Fortnite. Once PUBG became a huge hit and popularised Battle Royales, Fortnite was one of the first to copy the Battle Royale formula, and thanks to its cartoony art style and being on consoles, it was able to capture a large audience early on. Over time, Fortnite fully embraced the live service business model, splitting their content releases into seasons and chapters, and making content only available for a limited time. This all clearly worked as Fortnite blew up and overtook PUBG completely, with 125 million players by June 2018, and it had grossed over $9 billion by the end of 2019. Epic was able to use this success to both expand the game, adding in more modes and eventually adding in entirely new games inside Fortnite like Rock Band, and they started adding in other IPs into the game as well. In May 2018, they had a crossover with Marvel to allow people to get the Infinity Gauntlet and to turn into Thanos, and more crossovers came thick and fast after that. Fortnite has seen content from brands such as the NFL, DC, Star Wars, Lego, Dragon Ball, Sabrina Carpenter, League of Legends, footballers, Mr. Beast, WWE, and many, many more. It's not just video game franchises. Any popular brand, big or small, has the potential to be added into Fortnite. It isn't too surprising then that The Simpsons would eventually make its way into the game. Before The Simpsons crossover, Fortnite had already featured Rick and Morty, Family Guy, Beavis and Butthead, Bob's Burgers, and Futurama. In 2025, Fortnite was still hugely successful, it had established an art style for cartoon characters, and it had already featured many Disney-owned properties. Add in Tapped Out being shut down and an announcement of a second Simpsons movie, and the Simpsons crossover makes a lot of sense to happen at the end of 2025. A common theme with live service games are leaks. Due to the nature of needing to constantly update the game and plan out content far in advance, information about updates usually is readily available months before its release. We got our first whiff of The Simpsons in Fortnite back in August 2024, with initial rumours that Disney was talking to Epic about getting The Simpsons into the game, alongside their many other IPs. Another leak came in May 2025, which gave a breakdown of each season in Fortnite for the rest of the year. This leak essentially confirmed that it was happening, with November being the expected month for the update. In October 2025, Fortnite started its Halloween event, Fortnitemares. This was the event that preceded the Simpsons event, and the details about the Simpsons event came thick and fast as November approached. We essentially knew the main details of the event before it happened, including getting to see the Kia, seeing the different characters, and the general art style. At the end of Fortnitemares, we started getting teasers in-game for the Simpsons event. From the 22nd of October, Kang and Kodos had a small chance of appearing beside the battle bus at the start of each match. On the 24th of October, a small tree started growing in the northwest area of the map, and over the next few days it started to grow until it became a full tree with its own treehouse. The tree and the grass around this site gave us a small taste of the visuals for the Simpsons mini-event, and inside the treehouse was a TV, which rotated between different Simpsons memes and images. During the same weekend, the Fortnite website and social media banners were updated to show El Barto had graffitied Fortnitemares, changing it to Fartnitemares and saying "Eat my shorts." On Monday the 27th of October, the treehouse was changed again, this time with an extra purple glowing effect around it, and a new timer was placed nearby. This was the beginning to the countdown of the launch event for the new season. Alongside this was a short trailer, with Simpsons-style animation showing Kang and Kodos taking on characters from Fortnite. All the official accounts had confirmed the event, so it was just a matter of time of waiting until it kicked off on Saturday the 1st of November. During this week there were even real-life adverts, with El Barto-style Fortnite ads spotted in the subway and metro stations. On Friday the 31st of October, before the live event, a short trailer was released showing off gameplay and giving us a proper look at the characters in-game. Content creators also started posting videos and details about the Simpsons mini-season, thanks to Epic giving them early access. These videos revealed everything about the new season. The map, the skins, extended looks at gameplay, and even people going through all the content of the Battle Pass. Everything you wanted to know about the season was now out there, and people could watch gameplay footage from a large range of Fortnite content creators to see what the crossover would be before the launch. So that was the pre-release cycle of the Simpsons mini-season, and as someone who isn't interested in Fortnite, so hasn't experienced all of this before, I would say it was quite up and down. I'm not a fan of the limited time nature of these content drops, which I'll discuss much later, but one of the upsides of this is that you get this hype and build up whenever there is something new. As the release day got closer and the early details were coming out, it was hard not to get excited. We were finally going to see The Simpsons again in a modern video game, and the drip feeding of information meant it was fun thinking about what it would be and what content we would get to see. I also really liked the in-game teaser. Having a tree grow on the map and eventually spawn Bart's treehouse is a really cool idea, especially as you could go and visit it anytime you wanted. It also gave a nice preview of the visual art style they would use, without giving too much away. Not sure about the images they used on the TV. A big company using memes always feels a bit lame, like they're trying too hard to be funny and cool by adding memes because they know memes are popular. It wasn't all positive though. With leaks being a huge part of the discourse surrounding Fortnite, it means people found out most of the details through these leaks, with lots of information being released early. I don't love this personally. There's still a sense of community with leaks, but it feels lesser than having to go off official teasers and trailers and then speculating off that. I also found it strange that before the in-game event happened, people were already streaming the new season and showing off everything about it. Apparently this was the first time Fortnite had done this, and I would have preferred that they didn't. I understand doing this for games that you have to pay for, as previews and reviews are an important part of the process for people deciding how to spend their money, but for a free-to-play game like Fortnite, wouldn't it have been more exciting for everyone to get to play it at the same time? Do people really treasure watching someone on Twitch play something new more than having their own first experience by playing it themselves? I feel I really don't understand this world, so I'm not that qualified to talk about this. This isn't for me. I see this all as Epic, a giant company trying too hard to be interesting, who is then lifted up by content creators who try too hard to generate hype, with both these parties having the goal of extracting as much money from their audience as possible, which is made up of mostly 12-year-olds. So while it was nice to see the excitement around the new Simpsons content and see that build over time, as someone who doesn't play Fortnite, I found it hard to fully engage with all of it. The mini-event, Welcome Our Alien Overlords, kicked off at 11 AM EST on the 1st of November. If you were logged into Fortnite at that time, you got a new mode which took you into the event. The event started in the Battle Royale map, with a group of 24 people standing near where Bart's treehouse had appeared. There was another short countdown, which saw Kang and Kodos fly overhead, providing a chance to get sucked up a bit by the tractor beam. After the countdown, Jones and Hope, who I've read are Fortnite characters, are teleported in. The strange purple energy from the treehouse is creating a rift in time and space, so they attempt to close it. After initially being successful, Kang and Kodos interfere, causing the rift to massively expand, revealing a large alien creature behind it. The players are attacked by the alien creature, which transitions the event into a Simpsons-style animated cutscene. Jones and Hope make it onto Kang and Kodos' UFO, and they start fighting. Hope attempts to extract the crystals from the large creature's chest, causing it to throw the UFO into the rift. As the UFO goes into the portal, a small part of the crystal is dragged in. Kang and Kodos and Jones and Hope start fighting between teleporting back to the island or going back to Springfield, causing Springfield and the island to merge. The UFO is destroyed by Otto controlling a Simpsons-style battle bus, wrapping up the cutscene. This takes us straight into the iconic Simpsons clouds, before seeing a remix version of the Simpsons opening, mashing the original opening and elements of Fortnite. This goes over the different characters and weapons, effectively acting as a trailer. Once the opening wraps, with Bart winning the Battle Royale on the sofa, we see a second animated Simpsons short. This one is focused on Homer, where he finds the crystal from before and decides to jam it into his TV remote. This creates a remote that allows Homer to manipulate anything he wants. He uses his power to transform things around Springfield before ending up at Moe's and finding Jones and Hope there. The short ends in Moe's, and the player is taken to a screen showing raining donuts, with a timer to when the season will officially begin. Let's start with the negatives first. Going into the event wasn't easy to do. I was ready and waiting for the event 30 minutes early, but still struggled to play the event when it went live. The prompt to join appeared too early, and I was getting empty error messages at first. I tried many times to start the event but couldn't, so I ended up restarting the game and having to wait in a login queue, only to have the event still not work. I did eventually get in, but that was 30 minutes after the start of it, and I had no clue whether I was going to miss the event or not. Having a specific timer for the event that lasted all week, only for it not to work when I was online at the correct time, was a bit frustrating. The event also was very light on gameplay. There was little interactive elements and you could put the controller down for the entire thing. Now that I've gotten the negatives out of the way, I can say that I actually loved this event. It really showed the positive of the live service model. It was everyone experiencing this event at the same time, and because I was streaming this event on YouTube, I got to talk with people from the chat about their thoughts on it. It wasn't fun not being able to start the event straight away, but everyone was in the same boat, and one by one we all got in and got to experience it ourselves. It was all quite exciting, and that's before getting into the content itself. The first cutscene I could take or leave. It focuses more on this alien creature, and as someone who doesn't care about the Fortnite story, none of it was interesting. The animation wasn't amazing either, far from bad, but it felt a little bit cheap. After that though, the remix Simpsons opening was excellent. We Simpsons fans are a simple folk. If you recreate the opening, we will always enjoy it. We got a good look at the new season, while seeing the Fortnite version of the Simpsons characters recreate these iconic scenes from the opening. It was both a great way to sell the new season, while giving us an interesting take on something we've seen hundreds of times before. The final part with the new Simpsons short was a nice surprise. It stepped away from the Fortnite story to focus on Homer, and that made it much easier to enjoy. The writing of the jokes I would say was just okay. That's kinda just modern Simpsons for you, but it was a charming and entertaining Simpsons short that reminded me of playing Tapped Out or the Simpsons game. If the goal of the event was to get people excited to play, they got me hook, line and sinker, thanks to focusing on the Simpsons content and really amping up the fact that we were about to play as the Simpsons in a video game for the first time in a really long time. It's also worth noting that for those who missed the event, the Fortnite YouTube channel uploaded both the remix Simpsons opening and the new animations that set up the event. Considering there was no gameplay in the event, you didn't miss out by watching it on YouTube, and it was a nice backup for those who weren't able to see it live. Fortnite was down for server maintenance for over 5 hours after the event, with a new patch released in the meantime for people to install. After that the servers went back up, and the season had officially begun. I jumped on and was having such a great time with the game. I checked out all the Battle Pass content, started completing quests, and was having fun playing matches and exploring Springfield Island. I had played Fortnite the week before to practice, and it seemed to pay off, as I was able to win my second match. Things were going well until the servers went down. After I finished my first match, I couldn't matchmake anymore, which then turned into not being able to log in. This was widespread for everyone, with people unable to play the game at all for several hours after the launch. Server issues at the launch of a game is nothing new. It's part of online gaming, and with so many people flooding to a game at once, it's difficult to make sure everyone can get in to play. There are several reasons in this case though, which makes it pretty unacceptable. The first is that Fortnite is a game that's been going for years, with many season launches and events. They've done this before many times, how weren't the team better prepared for this launch? I don't want to be too harsh, as many developers would have been working very hard to support the launch, but when they've done this before, it's confusing that they got it wrong. The second reason this is unacceptable is because it's a limited time event. The Simpsons mini-season only lasted 1 month, and one night was taken away due to server issues, reducing the time to play it even further. My final reason is that they chose to launch it on a Saturday. Saturday is the most popular day for people to play games, and after a long week of waiting for the season to start, for people to have some free time on the weekend to then play it, to then have the servers break is really disappointing. This feels like it could have been avoided if they say launched earlier in the week, sorted out any potential server issues, and then made sure things were stable for the most popular day for when people play video games. These server issues didn't ruin the season, of course, but it's a flaw of the online live service model. It simply might not work, and then you're completely locked out. Forcing everyone to play at the same time and then limiting the time frame where you can play means you need to make sure it works. After several hours, the service did go back online, so let's go over what was available at launch. There were 4 main ways to experience the Simpsons content in Fortnite. There were the different game modes where you could play on Springfield Island, there's the store to directly purchase cosmetics, there were the quests where you can complete in-game challenges to earn rewards, and there was the battle pass. Before going through the content, I want to give a quick summary of the different cosmetics that you can use in Fortnite, for those who are unfamiliar with the game. For your character, you can select your outfit, which is essentially picking what character you want to play as. You can't customize individual elements of a character's skin, but there are sometimes variations called styles, which tweak certain parts of the character. You have the back bling, which is your backpack. With this being a third-person game, you end up staring at your character's back a lot, so back bling can really stand out. At this point in Fortnite, the back bling can be pretty much anything. It's just an object on your back with no function. There's the pickaxe, which is an item that every player always has. It can be used as a melee item or used to destroy buildings and objects. The glider is what the player uses to slow their descent as they approach the ground. Emotes are a mix of animations that can be triggered, graffiti you can spray, or small images you can hold in your hand. These have no gameplay benefit and are purely for interacting with other players. You see people use emotes a lot, and there are some emotes that will play their own music out loud. The last cosmetic that I'm going to mention are wraps, which act as your weapon skins. When you unlock a wrap, you get it for all your weapons as it's shared across everything. Weapon skins aren't as big in Fortnite as they are in other games, particularly when compared to first-person shooters. There are certainly other cosmetics too, but those are the main ones. Outfits, back blings, pickaxes, gliders, emotes, and wraps. For the actual Simpsons content, let's start with the Battle Pass. The Battle Pass allows you to unlock cosmetics by leveling it up, which you do through gameplay and completing challenges, although you do have to purchase the Battle Pass. After earning enough XP, you level up your Battle Pass and then manually claim your rewards. There were 7 pages of content to unlock, which is slightly less than the usual amount of Battle Pass content in Fortnite, as this was a mini-season that only lasted 4 weeks. Each page is themed around a character, with the outfit for that character being the last thing you unlock. For page 1 we have Marge Simpson. It has the Marge Simpson outfit with an alternative style with her hair tied back, little station wagon emote that plays the Simpsons theme, the Wacom Cleaner as a pickaxe, Springfield Heart Hands emote, Marge's new Do Spray emote, and Homer's gift as back bling. There was also a sidekick with this banana dog. Sidekicks were a big addition to Fortnite for this season, but I won't be talking about them until later, as the base Battle Pass didn't include any Simpsons themed sidekicks. I love the references included with this first page of content. The car remote is a really fun one to use and drive around with the Simpsons theme playing, the cleaner pickaxe ties back to Marge's weapon in the Simpsons arcade, and the bowling ball is a reference to the season 1 episode, Life on the Fast Lane. Right, I'm interrupting my own video as I need to talk about this vacuum cleaner a bit more. Even though it clearly comes from the Simpsons arcade, its design is more different than you think it would be. The bag is a lot smaller, they added a light to the front, and quite a few parts have a different colour. The Simpsons Hoover never had a consistent design, but we can see this version of it in Season 1, which doesn't match the one in Fortnite, and we can see it again in Season 14. They seem to have taken the Season 14 version, added in smaller details from the Simpsons arcade, shrunk the bag, and then called it a day. They didn't seem to use the Simpsons arcade as the sole reference, giving us this weird mashup. They also shrunk the bag, which I would assume is for animation reasons, so you can hold it with 2 hands. All of this was probably changed for good reason, but I don't like that it's different, and with it being such a great reference to the original arcade game, I wish they stuck to the original design more than they did. The Marge skin itself? Yeah, it's pretty good. Game devs really have the tech for cel shading down at this point, and from what I've seen from previous cartoon characters in Fortnite, these Simpsons characters have been created after they've mastered the cel shaded look. The art style feels like a modern version of the Simpsons game, and when you compare the character models from the 2 games, you can see how far the technology has come. There's much smoother black lines and much nicer shading on the models. The other change is the colour of the Simpsons, and this is something that Fortnite has fixed with a darker skin tone. I'm not sure why the Simpsons game had such bright characters. I'm glad that Fortnite uses a colour that much better matches the show. While I'm talking about the Marge outfit, the mouth is something that can look off at certain angles. They gave her a distinct overbite, which completely makes sense. It just doesn't translate well to 3D. I think the Simpsons game did this a little bit better, to be honest, although I don't think you can ever get the Simpsons mouths completely correct for a 3D game. The second page of the Battle Pass is themed around Witch Marge. There's the outfit for Witch Marge with an alternative style where she's wearing a hat, Maggie's Cartercopter as a glider, El Barto was here as a spray emote, Simpsons Family Hunt as a loading screen, Too Many TVs as a falling contrail, Hairy Situation as a rap, and 100 V-Bucks. Witch Marge is a reference to the season 9 episode Treehouse of Horror 8, and the skin looks great. The season started on the 1st of November, a day after Halloween, so this was a nice tie-in to the spooky season. I love the Maggie glider, as it means we get to see Maggie in the game, and it only makes sense to have an El Barto graffiti tag. The Too Many TVs contrail spawns TVs around you as you fall, with these TVs showing the Simpsons logo in the clouds, the credits, Gracie Films, the Krusty the Clown Show, and the Itchy and Scratchy Show. The Hairy Situation wrap is based on Marge's hair, and you can see Snowball 2 hidden inside it, alongside Marge's red beads and the bowling ball. The loading screen Simpsons Family Hunt was created by the one and only Bill Morrison. Bill Morrison has been an unsung hero for The Simpsons for years. He's mostly known for his work on The Simpsons comics, but he has been called upon many times to create artwork for the side projects, including the video games. He was the perfect choice to create these new loading screens, and I'm very happy he was able to contribute to this crossover. There was no one better to create this artwork. Page 3 changes gears and is themed around Blinky Fish Stick. There's the Blinky Fish Stick outfit, Blinky Fugu Flail Pickaxe, a Blinky Fest 2025 loading screen, triple blinker mode, and Tentacle Bucket as a back bling. In an ideal world, all the Battle Pass outfits would be Simpsons characters, but that's probably not fair to expect when it's a crossover taking place in Fortnite. Fortnite already had a fish character called Fish Stick, so it's a perfect fit to give him a third eye and make him a Blinky character. Doesn't make for the most interesting page of content on the Battle Pass, but I'm sure Fortnite fans will get something out of this. Page 4 continues on with Blinky Fish Stick, this time providing yellow reskins. There's the Hazardous Blinky Fish Stick outfit, Billowing Beaker's contrail, Hazardous Fugu Flail Pickaxe, Hazardous Tentacle Bucket as back bling, banner icon for Blinky Fish Stick, Blinky Sludge as a wrap, and 100 more V-Bucks. This continues the nuclear theme from page 3, and it's hard for this not to feel like filler content. It's not bad content, I quite like some of these, there's just no must-haves. Page 5 is all about Ned Flanders. There's an outfit for Ned Flanders, Flanders High Diddly Ho as a pickaxe, Flavor Saver Sailor as a glider, Oakley Dokley as an emote, Leftorium Emergency Kit as back bling, and 200 V-Bucks. We go from filler content on page 4 to arguably the best page of the Battle Pass with page 5. Ned Flanders looks perfect in this game. The eyes and the mouth are the strangest part of the other Simpsons skins, so having the glasses to hide the eyes a bit and the mustache to hide the mouth means his face doesn't look as uncanny. The end result is a skin that's exactly how a 3D Flanders should look. I have no notes, I love it, and it's the best skin that they released across the season in my opinion. Elsewhere in this page, the giant mustache glider is the perfect amount of silly. I like the creativity on show for this one. It's not referencing a specific episode, instead they came up with a new item that makes sense for Ned Flanders, but also makes sense for Fortnite as well. Page 6 is part 2 of the Flanders theme. There's the Stupid Sexy Flanders outfit with an alternative version, Stupid Sexy skiing emote, the duality of Diddley as a rap, Flanders ski poles as a pickaxe, Flanders Hunt as a loading screen, and 200 V-Bucks. If you're gonna have an alternative skin for Flanders, there's no better choice than Stupid Sexy Flanders from the season 11 episode Little Big Mum. It's become more of a meme nowadays, but this was a famous quote before memes took over the internet, and it's always been a popular reference. He looks amazing, and having the ski poles and the skiing emote is the icing on top. The wrap is an interesting idea. When you shoot, it transforms from a friendly Flanders to a devil Flanders. It does show the limits of the wraps though, as this design doesn't fit properly or look very good on some of these guns. The final page of the Battle Pass is based on Homer. There's the Homer Simpson outfit, Donut Dropper as a contrail, Electric Hammer as a pickaxe, Donut Break as a loading screen, Emergency Donut as back bling, Lazy Man Toilet Seat as a slider, and 200 V-Bucks. It was a bit cheeky to have Homer as the final reward for the Battle Pass. He's the most popular character, but to unlock him, you had to complete the entire thing. This isn't a big complaint, as the Battle Pass was fairly easy to finish. I did it within a week while working full time and spending a lot of time recording the game rather than actually playing it. I overall like how Homer looks here. My main complaint is that his eyes look a bit dead and the mouth has its off moments. I also want to point out that his legs are a little bit longer than they should be. I think they did a good job on this skin, and it is the best that 3D Homer has ever looked, but I think there is room for improvement if we ever got a new 3D Simpsons game in the future. We also have the Electric Hammer, which is a reference to the season 10 episode, The Wizard of Evergreen Terrace, and the Lazy Man Toilet Seat has the newspaper with the headline, Human Blimp Sees Flying Saucer, from the season 8 episode, The Springfield Files. Overall, the Battle Pass was great. Homer, Marge and Flanders were solid choices for skins, and they were smart with their choices of alternative styles for each outfit. They added in quite a few references with the extra content, and it's a huge thumbs up to see Bill Morrison creating the artwork. There's clearly padding here, which is sadly the nature of the beast when it comes to Battle Passes, and the limited time nature of the Battle Pass content is also extremely disappointing. It was very good though, especially when the Battle Pass cost 1000 V-Bucks, the equivalent of about £7. For what they included, it was very good value. There was a bonus page of Battle Pass content as well. After finishing the Battle Pass, you then started on an extra page of content, where you had to level up twice to unlock each thing, so it took a bit more grinding to get everything here. This page was also based on Homer, with the outfit being Evil Homer. There was also the Gilded Lazy Man Toilet Seat as a glider, Dole as an emote, Donuts as a rap, I Am Evil Homer as an emote, and an alternative skin for the Banana Dog Psychic. Once again, Evil Homer was the perfect choice, and it's excellent that they included the I Am Evil Homer emote, which does include the dialogue of Homer saying I Am Evil Homer, taken from the season 4 episode Whacking Day. A few hours after the season started, the store refreshed and a new section was added dedicated to Simpsons content. The Bart Simpsons outfit was the main attraction of the store, featuring Bart sitting in a robot suit. You couldn't play as Bart directly like you could in previous Simpsons games, you were controlling Bart in a mech instead. This is something that happened when Morty from Rick and Morty was added too, and there are two reasons for it as far as I can tell. The first is to make sure that each skin is roughly the same size for competitive play. If you could play as just Bart running around, it would give you too much of an advantage against other players, pretty much the modern equivalent of Oddjob from GoldenEye. There's also likely an issue with animation rigs, where they had to make sure that all previous animations could be applied to the Bart skin. I understand all this, but it definitely feels odd not to control Bart directly. They also didn't really make the robot suit that well themed to Bart either. They added flames to certain parts and called it a day. Bart himself also looks a bit worse than the other characters. The eyes and mouths look more off on Bart than on someone like Marge and Homer. It's not really an awful skin, and it's much better to include Bart rather than skip him, but as something you had to buy directly from the store, making it more expensive, it's one of the weaker Simpsons skins that they released. Speaking of the price, the skin costs 1,500 V-Bucks, which is the equivalent of about £10, or a bit less if you buy more V-Bucks at once. You could buy a bundle for 2,000 V-Bucks, or £14, which included Bart's skateboard as a back bling, Krusty's alarm clock as a pickaxe, Squishy boarding as an emote, and the Simpsons theme as a jam track. It was also possible to buy each of these items individually if you wanted. It was a pretty good bundle. It was nicely themed to Bart, and you got the Simpsons theme as music, which is always a good thing to have. When compared to the Battle Pass though, this is pretty rough pricing. Battle Passes are generally cheaper as they reduce the price as you're paying for it with extra engagement. Comparing the two directly though, the Bart Simpsons bundle with one outfit is twice the price of the Battle Pass, which has 7. It's up to the individual whether these are worth it, but the cost of owning everything Simpsons related in Fortnite added up very quickly thanks to the items on the store. Alongside the Bart bundle, there was also car cosmetics. There was Homer's car with 4 variants and wheels, wheels with the Simpsons TV on it, mobile TIE Fire boost, and donut drift trail. These could be used in both Fortnite and in Rocket League, although Homer's car cost 2,200 V-Bucks, which is pretty rough pricing. There were two other ways that I'm going to mention that you could earn Simpsons content at launch. In the world of modern gaming, we have Twitch drops. By watching people on Twitch play a game, you can earn rewards for that game, which you can claim the next time you log in. For The Simpsons in Fortnite, you could earn a wrap by watching 30 minutes of people playing Fortnite on Twitch. This had a strict time window, and it only counted if you watched Twitch during the launch weekend. You could also earn a Canon Kodos glider, which you got by linking your My Disney account with your Epic account. It's always nice to be able to get free stuff, and this was an opportunity for people to get a couple of extra items without paying extra money, which is a really nice bonus. If you are someone who watches Twitch a lot and plays Fortnite, you basically didn't have to do anything different to earn the wrap. The setup for this though, in particular the account linking, is a headache. Once you've done it, it's done, and you never have to think about it again, but trying to remember passwords and get everything linked correctly was a pain, honestly. I had to follow a guide on IGN to even understand what I needed to do here. Earning the wrap had a real time pressure to it. You had to watch during that first weekend or you wouldn't be able to get it at all. This is something I was able to do, and to be fair, 30 minutes of watch time on Twitch is very reasonable, but personally, I have no interest in watching Fortnite Twitch streamers. It's a world I don't have any interest in. I'm sure there's some very cool people in that space, but it's not for me. If I wasn't making this video, I wouldn't have done any of this, and to be fair, you're not forced to do it. I would have preferred not to have to dive into all of this for the sake of getting a complete set of Simpsons cosmetics. I'd rather that they kept earning rewards just inside the game itself. Before we can officially move on from launch day content, there are even more items that I've failed to mention. There were 2 login rewards, where you earn something by simply booting the game at the start of the season. One of them is the loading screen A Touch of Homer, which is the first in a series of loading screens that reflected the story that was told across the season. The second login reward was Fuel Rod and Tongs, which was a pickaxe. The other items were a part of the Battle Pass, but they weren't listed individually. Instead, you earned them by completing each page. There was none for page 1, but for page 2 there was Witch Marge's Mark Spray and the Marge banner icon. The Witch Marge outfit also included the Springfield Witch Cape as back bling, which technically was separate to the full outfit. Page 3 had the Blinky Kick spray, and page 4 had Welcome to Springfield as a loading screen. Page 5 had Hi Diddly Ho Neighborino as a spray, and Mid-Air Couch Gag as a loading screen. Page 6 had Stupid Sexy Spray as a spray, and Flanders as a banner icon. Page 7 had Woohoo as a spray, and Homer as a banner icon. Lastly, on the bonus page of Battle Pass content, there was I Am Evil Homer as a spray. I'd missed all these items off my list when playing this season, as it was hard to track everything, which was by design due to Fortnite and live service games having confusing engagement systems, but it's also because there was so much in the game. There really was so much crammed in, and we're not even past launch day, and not even halfway through this video. Sorry if it's been a bit dense so far, I've just got a lot that I need to mention. I hope you're ready for more, as there is so much more for me to go over. Let's actually get properly into the game. As seen in the launch event, the map was Springfield Island. Springfield Island was the map for the Battle Royale modes, which are the core modes in Fortnite, although nowadays there are a silly amount of extra modes that you can check out and play. Springfield Island is a bit smaller than a normal Fortnite map, meaning that the player count per game was reduced to 80, down from 100. When starting a match, you get a Battle Royale version of the Simpsons Cloud logo, with the Simpsons theme playing over the top. The battle bus that you start in has been updated to a slurp blimp, which is the Fortnite version of the Duff blimp. On the side of the blimp they would show a random phrase, which was written in a similar way to the chalkboard gags from the show's opening. There was a lot of these gags to see, so here are all the ones that I was able to find, but I can't promise that it's a complete list. In Fortnite, you can thank the bus driver, and this has been updated to thank Otto instead. They even added Otto's silhouette to the front of the bus. This bus is blue instead of yellow like in the show, which is likely to help it feel like something in Fortnite, as the normal battle bus is blue. Although I will point out that in the animation in the launch event, the bus was yellow rather than blue. In terms of music, the Simpsons theme plays at the beginning, but there was also different Simpsons audio jingles that played when you land and when you entered different POIs, which really helped tie things back to the show. Before I go through all the specifics and details of the map, it has to be said that the map itself looks amazing. The characters look good, but definitely have the odd issue here and there, but I have no real notes for the island itself. It has a cel-shaded clean look, which perfectly represents the show in 3D. Fortnite has been using cel shading for years, with mixed results, but they've taken all that experience, improved their engine tech, and they've created the perfect looking 3D Simpsons environment. The colours are spot on, the black lines are just right, and the level of detail means everything looks cartoony but isn't too solid or flat. I'm certainly not an artist, so take what I'm saying with a pinch of salt, but things like the shading and lighting really adds a lot to the look. There's an extra layer of visual depth to everything to make it feel modern, and it's something that the Simpsons game was lacking, largely due to the technology of the time. It's dynamic to look at while representing a 2D cartoon, which is extremely impressive that they got that balance right. This is the best looking version of Springfield, despite this sadly not actually being in a Simpsons game. The island is split into 9 different POIs, so let's go through them all and check out all the different locations and secrets that you could find. Starting in the top left corner of the island, there's Cletus's Cornhole. This POI is a farm, with it being a mix of crops and farm buildings. There's a barn, there's a couple of silos, and a few generic houses. When entering the farm from the road, you can see a billboard for Cletus's Roadkill Diner, which doesn't actually exist at this POI and is a reference to the season 24 episode Black Eyed Please. You may see the crops here and assume that they would be tobacco, as a reference to the season 11 episode EIEI Annoyed Grunt, but that's not the case. Instead, they are regular tomatoes which you can pick up and eat. The ground around the tomatoes is glowing green, which is likely a nod to when Homer used radioactive waste to make tobacco. They aren't called tobacco though, which I would guess is because it's Fortnite and they don't want any tobacco products in the game. I do get it, but it does mean that this isn't a complete reference to the show and makes it more of a generic farm. This farm was seen in other episodes, but tobacco is the most famous use of it and it wasn't something that they were able to commit to. Inside the house in the centre, you can find Springfield Peely, a character that became available to get later in the season. In the corner of the POI, there's a Birdie Mart, which is a petrol station and fast food restaurant. Inside you can purchase Super Squishies, which heals you and gives you infinite stamina for a short time. There's also a phone on the side of the building, which if it rings, you can answer to hear Bart prank calling Moe.
Moe speaking.
Is Jacques there?
Who?
Jacques, last name Strap.
Hold on. Jacques Strap. Hey guys, I'm looking for a Jacques Strap.
These prank calls are taken directly from the early episodes of the show. You can hear Seymour Bart, Jockstrap, BO Problem, and IP Freely. The Birdie Mart itself is a mix of the Quickie Mart and a Fortnite reference to Bird, which were petrol stations before this update. Scattered around the farm are the skeletons of dead cows. I checked the episode where this farmhouse features, but I didn't see any skeletons of cows, so I assume the joke is that these cows were killed by the radioactive tomatoes? I don't dislike this POI, but it does end up being one of the weaker areas of the map. It's called Cletus's Cornhole, with not that much that ties it to Cletus, outside of the billboard, and this is mostly a reference to the tobacco episode, but it isn't able to directly say tobacco. It ends up being quite bare in terms of references. It's also not the most fun POI to play in, as it's quite open and flat and has limited cover compared to other POIs. Bit of a weak start to the map, but luckily there's a lot more to check out. South of Cletus's Cornhole is the famous Evergreen Terrace. It's worth pointing out here is that this isn't meant to be Springfield. Instead it's a mix of Springfield and the island from Fortnite, which means they mixed and matched different parts of Springfield to create a new island. It's not meant to be one-to-one, just a collection of iconic locations from The Simpsons all mashed together to make a Battle Royale map, which gave them a lot of creative freedom. Evergreen Terrace is a collection of 12 houses, a mini snapshot of the Springfield suburbs. The main attraction here is the iconic Simpsons house, so let's start there. I'm such a Simpsons nerd that just looking at the front of the house is exciting. It just looks perfect. It looks so good that they used it as the background for the lobby screen for most of the season. Inside the house, if we start on the bottom floor and go clockwise, we have the hall, the living room, the TV room, the kitchen, the dining room, and then back to the hallway. If we go to the right side of the bottom floor, there's the garage, a small room with washer and dryer, and the rumpus room that's split into two. Connected to the rumpus room is a downstairs bathroom. Heading upstairs, on the left is Homer's and Marge's room with their ensuite bathroom. Straight ahead is Lisa's room, and on the right is Bart's room, Maggie's room, the bathroom, and this extra room connected to the bathroom and Homer and Marge's room. We also have the attic that you can jump into. The Simpsons house is the more standardized version of the house used in modern episodes, and Epic making their own changes to make it work for Fortnite. The most famous rooms and their positions are the same as the official layout that Josh Weinstein created in the early days of the show, so any room that most people would recognize is where it should be. The rumpus room that can be seen from time to time is here at the back, although they've also added an extra downstairs bathroom which I don't think exists. The extra room upstairs is also something not from the official layout or can ever be seen in the show as far as I'm aware. They completely made it up. It feels like they made these changes to make all the rooms fit inside the house a bit nicer. I wish they made it work without having these extra rooms, but it's more of a nitpick anyway. It's not a perfect layout for the house, but they got the main elements correct. Well, the basement is also sadly missing, with the door in the hallway going to the kitchen, instead of either the basement or closet depending on the episode you're watching. For the majority of the fans, the house is amazing, and it did exactly what it needed to do. It's not just the rooms, we get tons of different references to check out. The best one is in the TV room. You can find the iconic sofa, and you can sit on it during games, which gives you a camera angle similar to the opening. Later on in the season, they made it so the sofa would heal you as well. This is an amazing Easter egg, and with Fortnite being a game where you can play as so many different characters from so many different franchises, people online were able to create some shots that you never thought you would see. It really was something to see Homer, Peter, Bob and Hank all sitting on the Simpsons sofa together. We have a few more Easter eggs hidden in the house. If you go over to the fridge, there's a calendar with the 17th of December 1989 marked on it, as a reference to the original air date of the very first episode, Simpsons roasting on an open fire. The ladder and lawnmower have property of Ned Flanders stickers on them, a nod to Homer always borrowing Ned's stuff and never returning it, or more specifically, the season 3 episode When Flanders Failed. There are also pig marks on the ceiling of the living room as a reference to Spider Pig from the Simpsons movie. I found some of the smaller details really interesting. They seem to put more effort into all of this than expected. In Lisa's room there's a Jazz Fest poster and Bleeding Gums Murphy photo, and there's the boat photo above the sofa, of course all of these coming from the show. All along the stairs we have family photos which also match the show, to the point where you can see the same photos in the Simpsons game, and both games also have Patty and Selma above the fireplace. There are certain things that look bad, but most of them look that way because they are direct references. The drawing on the fridge by Lisa looked really generic, and I was ready to dismiss it, but no, it directly comes from the show, alongside the extra drawings on the chalkboard in the kitchen. In the corner of the rumpus room, we have this horrifying looking crusty knockdown doll thing, which looks rough, but this comes from the season 2 episode 3 Men and a Comic Book, one of the rare times we got to see the rumpus room at all. There's this picture of trees at night in the living room, which looks a bit rubbish, but this photo has been on the show ever since the very first episode. So someone drew this as a background asset in the 80s, and now here it is recreated in Fortnite. This Jack-in-the-Box looks like a generic toy that someone might have just randomly made to fill space, but nope, there it is in an episode. I found this brown itchy and scratchy toy in Lisa's room, and I thought that was a mistake, but no, once again, that is just how it looks in the episodes. At first I didn't like how some of these things looked, but after looking into their origins, I love that they stuck to their guns and kept them looking a little basic and off to make sure it matched the show. There are a few things that just look bad though. The family photo looks like it was poorly traced, this grandpa photo is lacking details, and I don't know what happened to Santa's little helper here. Something went wrong with this shelf. This photo is meant to be a cat, and I don't even know what this pig dinosaur thing is. I think this pig dinosaur might come from the show, but you hardly ever see this bookcase, so I can't confirm that for sure. Some of these details do look bad, but you really have to stop and stare at everything to notice, which 99.9% of people won't do. It's generally a great version of the house, and I love the smaller details that they included, even if some of them may look rough on first viewing. One more point I want to make about the Simpsons house is that you can destroy it. This is Fortnite, so you can destroy buildings, which means for the first time, we have a fully destructible version of this house. This goes for all the buildings on the map, but it felt most notable for the Simpsons house. I never thought this is something you'd be able to do in a video game. There's only one house that could be next to the Simpsons home, and that's the Flanders house. This house is pretty much perfect, outside of skipping the basement again like in the Simpsons house. Over the course of the show, we ended up seeing enough of the house to get a good sense of it, and it's fun to get a 3D fully explorable version of it for the first time. We have family photos which include Maud Flanders, and above Ned's bed we have a photo of Edna Krabappel, which does come from the show. On the other side of the Simpsons house, we have the house that Ruth Powers moved into back in season 4. It doesn't look exactly the same, but I guess it's close enough. Across the road from the Simpsons house, we have what you would assume to be George Bush's house, but apart from the colour scheme, it doesn't really look like it. It does have boxes and a moving van outside, which is likely a reference to the fact that no one seems to stay in this house for long. Most of the other houses in Evergreen Terrace are just generic homes. They look and feel like The Simpsons but don't seem to be tied to anything specific. The only notable thing in them is that some of them have a Radioactive Man comic next to the toilet. This is actually a real compilation of Radioactive Man comics you could buy, and I should know as I own a copy. There are two other houses of note. On the north side we have the Van Houten's house. You can tell as there's pictures of Milhouse's family on the walls, including his pet dog, and it's the only house with the family name on the letterbox outside. Pictures of his grandparents are also on the wall, but they don't match the designs from the show. On the west side of the POI across the broken part of the road, we have a 3-floor mansion. I couldn't tie this to a particular character. It seems to be someone who's rich and a bit nerdy, as the most distinct things about it is that it has a cinema room with movie posters and a complete arcade on the top floor. There's a few other things to point out about Evergreen Terrace. The fire hydrants are yellow, which is a bit odd, as in the season 6 episode Lemon of Troy, it's noted that the hydrants are yellow in Shelbyville, not Springfield. On the east side of the POI, we have Springfield Gorge, which features a ramp just like in the season 2 episode, Bart the Daredevil, and just like in that episode, you can jump across the gorge. Doing this was one of the 12 gags that were hidden across the map. We've already done 2 of these, one for prank calling Mo, and one for sitting on the Simpsons sofa, so the gorge jump is our 3rd one. I really love that these gags exist. You don't get much for doing them apart from extra XP, but it's such a fun way to have people check out references, and it's similar to the hidden gags that you could find in Hit and Run. There's another gag to find to the south of Evergreen Terrace, near the Springfield Tire Yard, which of course is on fire. You can dig here to find a Mr. Sparkle box, as a reference to the season 8 episode, In Marge We Trust. It must be obvious to you watching, but I love all of this, and I love seeing all the details in Evergreen Terrace. I spent way too long checking out just this POI to see everything that I could. We're heading back to the north part of the island, this time going to the east to check out the nuclear power plant. The power plant has 2 cooling towers, which both have air blowing upwards that you can ride on. This POI is mostly a collection of buildings, and in the middle we have Sector 7G, with Homer's workstation inside. You won't find any do it for her signs, but you will find pink donuts on the console and floor. The workstation isn't only here for show. During matches, there will be a nuclear meltdown at the power plant. If you go to Homer's console, you can enter a combination to stop the meltdown, with the options to choose from being Eeny Meeny Miny, as a reference to the season 3 episode Homer Defined. You can learn the solution to this puzzle by finding a poster nearby, and both the poster location and the solution is randomized. If you successfully stop the meltdown, then you receive some pretty good loot. In the same building as Homer's workstation, there's a collection of different nuclear cores, and you can also find Homer walking around. The other main building on the site of the power plant is this big glass one, which houses different offices, and on the bottom floor we can see the cafeteria and the break room, two locations that are fairly common in the show. At the top of the glass building, there's Mr. Burns' office. Inside are the CCTV screens, the stuffed polar bear, his desk, and even a trap door, which goes down into a small pit. If you interact with the button on the desk, it will release the hounds, which spawns in enemies called Doberman, who are dog-like human creatures. If you're the one to press the button, then they're friendly towards you, and for everyone else they will simply attack them. There's another dodgy picture on the wall, with Mr. Burns above the fireplace. This is based on a real painting from the show, but it's like they picked the worst possible frame to use as a reference and then upscaled it without thinking. There's another phone at the power plant, and when picking it up, I heard a prank call where Bart was trying to prank Homer rather than Moe.
Hello?
Yeah, I'd like to speak to a Mr. Tabooger. First name Ollie.
Oh, Bart! My first prank call. What do I do?
Just ask if anyone knows Ollie Tabooger.
I don't get it.
Yell out, I'll eat a booger.
What's the gag?
Oh, forget it.
This comes from the season 13 episode Homer the Moe, and it can randomly play from any phone, like the other prank calls. All across the map, including the nuclear power plant, we can find mystery boxes, which are references to the season 5 episode Homer Goes to College. Like a lot of things that you find on the map, the mystery boxes are a way to find some better loot. Going southwest from the nuclear power plant, there's Lake Springfield. This is one of the locations where you can go fishing, something Fortnite has had as a feature for a while, and there's another gag you can earn by catching Blinky. On the other side of Lake Springfield is the POY Camp Krusty, of course based on the season 4 episode Camp Krusty. It's a small POY which is a mix of trees and rundown buildings. While Camp Krusty is iconic, it's not a location we see that much, so there was very little to pull on to make this location all that interesting. They did add in some nice details though, like we have the cabin where all the kids were forced to work, and there's the outside spot with the TV, where Bart starts a rebellion against the camp. There are also several barrels of Krusty brand imitation gruel scattered around. There's a flag for Camp Krusty in the middle, and if you stand within the circle you can capture this area, which changes the Camp Krusty flag to a Camp Bart flag. Camp Krusty is quite unremarkable as a POI, but it is a recognisable place, and it does its job of providing some variety to the island. Near Camp Krusty we have Carlsbad Caverns, which is a tunnel that goes through the nearby cliffside. I won't lie, I didn't recognise this when I saw it, but it is a reference to the show, and it's taken from the season 17 episode, The Seemingly Never-Ending Story. To the southeast of Camp Krusty and the power plant is Burns' Manor. As you would imagine, this POI is a large estate. There's gates with a B on them at the front, and the manor itself sits upon a hill. We don't have a proper layout for the manor from the show, so the inside of this building is a combination of different rooms that we've seen from different episodes, with a few extra ones to fill the space. The manor changed over the course of the early seasons, and whenever we saw it, it was usually for a specific joke or scene, so they had to pick different reference points for details and mash everything together. Quite a few rooms use the season 11 episode The Mansion Family as a reference, and the manor has these statues of Mr. Burns' ancestors, which you can see in the background of that episode. It's editing Tom jumping in again. I'm currently editing this on New Year's Eve as I really want to finish this video, so while I don't want to make this video even longer, there's something else I need to mention. The map itself does seem to use specific episodes as reference points, but not as much as I first assumed. At some point, the show standardized and locked in designs for most of its locations. I can't really say when this happened, I'll leave that to someone more qualified to discuss like the real gyms, but it meant certain background assets became a core part of the designs. In terms of what they picked to use, it seems to be a mix of what had been seen several times already, a few random things that may have been in a scene or two, and some brand new objects. That weird shelf in Lisa's room was created through this process. The black photo is supposed to be Snowball too, but it wasn't Fortnite that ruined this picture, the show did that themselves. The reason I mention all of this is because this is where most of the items came from that was used in Springfield Island. These statues can be seen in the Mansion family, yes, but they were also brought across into modern episodes, and I feel like Epic likely used the modern episodes as a reference rather than going through all the older ones. In general, when I use a specific episode to show where something came from, it could be the case that Fortnite got it from that episode, but it's more likely that the asset in that episode got included as part of the fixed background assets for modern episodes, and then Fortnite copied it from the current standardized designs. I can't really get over the Snowball 2 photo and the pig dinosaur thing. It's thoughtless auto-generating inception. The show standardized these things incorrectly, only for Fortnite to then copy them, so we have these warped items that no one at any point stopped and said if they made any sense. Thinking about these elements too much gives the island a weird feeling. The map hasn't been crafted, it's been generated, and it's been generated based on the modern, more soulless version of the show. I'm going to stop here before I get too negative, because I do very much like the island, so let's get back to breaking down Burns Manor some more instead. We have the dining room with the ridiculously long table, which might be the room that's been shown the most from inside the manor. There's Mr. Burns' bed with a cord next to it labelled Smithers. I'm not sure if this is a direct reference, it feels like something that would exist, but I struggle to find where this came from. Downstairs we have Mr. Burns' desk, which like in the nuclear power plant, has a button to release the hounds, which you can use to spawn in the Doberman. There's a room which has Mr. Burns' giant TV, and another room with a small TV with a chair in front of it. I believe these are a nod to the times where sometimes you see this massive TV, and sometimes Mr. Burns is just sitting in front of a smaller one. At the back of the manor is a large garden, with a fountain in the middle and some very nicely cut hedges. You can find a set of rakes here, and walking into them triggers another gag, with the rakes snapping into you as a reference to the Season 5 episode Cape Fear. This POI very much feels like Mr. Burns' manor, and they did a great job here, but I have a couple of nitpicks. There's a kitchen, but it sadly isn't based on the kitchen that Homer uses in the Season 7 episode Homer the Smithers. There's a dock near the manor just beyond the garden, but it doesn't use the design from the Mansion family, even though it seems like they did use that episode as a reference elsewhere. This is very nitpicky though, with the amount of specific reference points they did use across the entire island, I wouldn't be surprised if they did reference an episode for these elements and I've just missed them. It was also just a great choice to have the manor as a POI. It's very distinct while being quite spacious, and it was cool to see the manor in full, even if they had to make up the layout a little bit. Slightly south of the centre of the island, there's Springfield Town Square. I would split the POIs into two types. There are the ones like Burns' Manor and Cletus's Cornhole, which are based on one iconic location, but might not have a lot of specific references and Easter eggs. The other type of POI is what we saw in Evergreen Terrace, where we had several different houses, and it was much more dense when it came to references. Springfield Town Square is very much the second type, and there are several instantly recognisable buildings that we can see here. There's the Quickie Mart, Moe's, King Toot's Music Store, Krusty Burger, Android's Dungeon, the Courthouse, and the Aztec Theatre. These buildings surround the square, and in the middle there's the statue of Jebediah Springfield, with his famous quote, "A noble spirit embiggens the smallest man." There's another gag where you can knock off the head of the statue, a reference to the Season 1 episode The Telltale Head, and you can even wear it yourself. Wearing the head gives you protection against a headshot, at the cost of taking up a space in your infantry. I love the town square, as it has so many iconic locations, and it really oozes that feeling that you're in Springfield. Both here and Evergreen Terrace don't feel like you're playing on a Battle Royale map, it just feels like you're playing a Simpsons game. This is even before we start properly looking around to see all the references that they added. In Moe's we can see the love tester, which has Larry's urn on top, as a reference to his death in the Season 35 episode Cremains of the Day. On the wall there's photos referencing different episodes. We can see the B Sharps performing as a reference to the Season 5 episode Homer's Barbershop Quartet. Oddly, Apu has the wrong skin colour. He's yellow like the other characters in the image. This could be a reaction to the controversy surrounding the character, but we can also see Apu coloured correctly in the Pimp House photo. There were plenty of photos on the map that didn't look correct and had issues, so this feels like more dodgy artwork rather than Epic trying to make any type of statement. He was also colored correctly in the same photo in the background of the animated short Apocalypse Doe. When the game was patched in week 2, this photo was updated to make Apu the right color, so it did just seem to be a mistake. There are a couple of photos showing a young Mo in the military, which I didn't really recognize, but these are something that you can see in modern episodes clear as day, like in the season 27 episode, Love is in the N2O2ARCO2NEHECH4. Basically every photo on the wall is taken from the current design for Mo's used in the modern episodes, which include direct references to the older episodes as well. Next to Mo's is King Toot's music store, and the inside of King Toot's is spot on, with a range of different music related jokes to see. Moving over to the Quickie Mart, there's quite a few different products on sale inside, including Power Source bars from the season 9 episode King of the Hill. There's also a few notes behind the counter, including a note written by Apu to call his brother Sanjay. Surprisingly, not that much else to see in the Quickie Mart. Games like Virtual Springfield and Hit and Run filled the Quickie Mart with references, which makes this version of it feel a little stripped back. If we continue to go round the town square, we have Android's Dungeon, which is filled with comic books and merchandise. There's the very first issue of Radioactive Man, lots of references to Everyman from the season 21 episode Home of the Whopper, and we have Itchy, Scratchy and Poochie. On the shelf we have Bongo Comics, with a white rabbit on the cover. Bongo Comics is a reference to the real-life Bongo Comics, who published all the comics based on The Simpsons up until 2018, with the rabbit on the cover also being called Bongo. Bongo is from Matt Groening's comic Life in Hell, who can also be seen in level 2 of The Simpsons Arcade. Back when I started this series and talked about The Simpsons Arcade, I started a counter for all the Life in Hell references, as I assumed there would be plenty more. Turns out that while Binky and Bongo got referenced several times in the show, that wasn't the case for the video games, making this a rare appearance for the character. This also seems like more of an accidental reference, as this version of Bongo Comics can be seen in the show, so I think this was them recreating an asset that had been seen inside Android's dungeon, rather than them going out of their way to include Bongo Comics. On the wall there are photos of Who's Banned for Life from the store, from the season 12 episode, Worst Episode Ever. Thanks to this reference, we have a cameo from Matt Groening as well as Sideshow Bob. The main attraction of Android's Dungeon is Krusty the Clown frozen in carbonite. I'm not a fan of this one, as it feels more of a Star Wars reference than the Simpsons one, even though it is referencing the season 32 episode, The Dad Feelings Limited. There's another Star Wars parody you can see under the counter, with a Cosmic Wars card with the character Jim Jam. Over at the Aztec Theatre, on the front we can see a reference to the very concept of Fortnite and Simpsons having a crossover. There are 8 movie posters you can see on the walls, which are a mix of references from more modern episodes of the show and Simpsons versions of Fortnite posters. The biggest building in the town square is the Springfield County Courthouse, although there's not much to see inside. There's a map of Springfield, which I believe is just for decorative purposes rather than being a real map, and we also have the courtroom itself. With how often the Simpsons end up going to court, I do like that the courtroom got included in the crossover. The last main building in the town square is Krusty Burger, which looks exactly how you would expect. Not many references in here, outside of the Mother Nature Burger, which is a reference to the season 20 episode Coming to Homerica. The rest of the buildings in the town square are generic shops, offices and flats. There are a few more things of note. We have 2 billboards, one for Krusty doing funerals from the season 20 episode Take My Life Please, and one advertising that Mo now has electricity from the season 20 episode No Loan Again Naturally. In the clothes shop at the town square, we have long sleeve shirts, which have references like the flower pattern from the season 7 episode King Size Homer, and we have Itchy, Scratchy and Poochie shirts. There's 3 more POIs to see, starting with the Springfield Slurp Works, which is in the southwest corner of the map. This is the smallest POI, as the only thing here is the Slurp Factory. You may have noticed while looking around the island that there is no Duff present, and instead it's been replaced by Slurp, one of the healing liquids from Fortnite. They also replaced Duff Man with an alternative version called Slurp Man, which you can see as a cardboard cutout all over the map. I don't want to complain too much about this choice as I do get it. Fortnite is a game that children play, and if the game has alcohol everywhere and you got some type of positive effect from drinking that alcohol, then that would affect the game's age rating. Fortnite already had a drink called Slurp, so if you wanted to combine the Simpsons and Fortnite elements, it's a sensible choice to feature Slurp instead. It all makes sense and it's all very sensible, but the end result is something that's quite lame. You see Slurp everywhere, and it uses the Duff font for its logo, and it's a constant reminder that Duff didn't make it into the game. As someone who's a Simpsons fan and not a Fortnite one, I didn't like seeing things like Barney in a photo holding a Slurp instead of a Duff. Anyway, for the Springfield Slurp Works itself, there's not too much to see. There's a couple of references to the season 4 episode Duffless, with the billboard clock with the 2 doorways on top, and inside there's the joke about normal diet and zero slurp all being the same. We also have a set of mascots for Slurp called Slurperoo, Sudsmuck Slurp, and Bubbles Von Slurp. Bubbles is a Fortnite reference, and Sudsmuck Slurp is a mix of Simpsons references. The name comes from the season 14 episode Old Yeller Belly, and the design appears to be based on the dog from the season 13 episode The Last Is Gone in the West. Not too sure about the kangaroo. It looks like a Simpsons design, I just can't place it, and I'm not aware of a Duff kangaroo mascot. There's a few more jokes that you can see on the wall by looking around, but none of these really stop Slurp Works from being quite a forgettable POI. To the east of the Springfield Slurp Works at the bottom of the island, we have the Donut District. There are 2 main attractions to the Donut District. The first is the big Lard Lad statue from the season 7 episode Treehouse of Horror 6. There's another gag for attacking the statue and knocking down the donut that it's holding. The other attraction inside this POI is the Springfield Police Station. On the walls we have a newspaper with the headline, Cop Surrenders to Scarecrow, a reference to the season 26 episode, The Kids Are All Fight. There are 2 sets of wanted posters. One set has Sideshow Bob and Fat Tony, and another set with Fat Tony on it with a photo of Ralph attached. Upstairs is Chief Wiggum's office, which has a small jail that you can go into. There are 2 billboards in the Donut District, one with Mark Bain taken from the season 24 episode Moonshine River, and one with Mr. Burns taken from the season 21 episode Chief of Hearts. Apart from that, there isn't much else in the Donut District, outside of an art gallery which has a painting of Jebediah Springfield. There's several buildings here, but they're very standard. It's a few houses and some shops, including one selling donuts. That takes us to the last POI. In the southeast is Corruption Corners. This is similar to the other POIs on the south side of the island, where it's mostly smaller and generic buildings. The centerpiece is the Springfield Town Hall, with a gag on the sign outside. The Town Hall has the main hall with a stage and Quimby's office on the side. To go along with the Town Hall, there's a bar nearby and a fast food restaurant called Der Burger. This is solely a Fortnite reference, rather than anything to do with The Simpsons. Fun fact about Corruption Corners, it was originally named Mayor's Munchies, as seen in the early access previews, but it was renamed on launch day. Lastly, there's a billboard with Blinky the Fish on it, taken from the season 22 episode Homer the Father. That's all the POIs, but there are several other locations scattered across the island that I should mention. In the south, we have a mini version of the Springfield Squidport, which has Noiseland Arcade on it. The arcade doesn't look like Noiseland Arcade at all, but it is filled with arcade machines. We have Itchy and Scratchy from the season 1 episode Moaning Lisa, Fruit Shoot from the season 23 episode The Book Job, Super Slugfest from the season 1 episode Moaning Lisa, Triangle Wars from the season 18 episode Please Homer Don't Hammer Them, Escape from Grandma's House from the season 2 episode Bart Gets an F, Dash Dingo from the season 10 episode Lisa Gets an A, Bone Storm from the season 7 episode Marge Be Not Proud, Big Super Happy Fun Game from the season 23 episode The Food Wife, and Half Month from the season 31 episode Screenless. The Half Month one is a nice reference, as this appeared in an episode as a reference to Fortnite, and now is appearing in Fortnite as a Simpsons reference to Fortnite. There's also this machine called Da Vinci's 1485. It's the only one I couldn't tie to a specific episode. All the other machines are from the show, so it would be strange if this was the only one that was original. I'm sure it is a reference, I just couldn't find where from. Just north of Squidport, there's Skinner's House, with direct references to steamed hams in the kitchen. On the same intersection of Skinner's house is the 33-cent store from the season 10 episode 30 Minutes Over Tokyo. There's lots of houses scattered across the map and open areas filled with trees to help fill out the space between the different POIs. There is also the starting island, which is separate from the main map. This is where you spawn before the game officially begins, as the last few players join the match. It's just a mashup of different assets from the main island. I couldn't find anything unique to it. Lastly, there's the giant Springfield sign on top of the hill that you could see from most of the southern half of the map. That's Springfield Island, and as a Battle Royale crossover map, it completely exceeded my expectations. It's not just the amazing art style and rendering, it's also filled with classic, recognizable locations and a catalog's worth of Easter eggs. They had to try and create a map that made sense for a competitive online shooter while also appealing to Simpsons fans, and I think they walked that line brilliantly. I do want to note though, this ultimately wouldn't cut it for an actual Simpsons game. The Simpsons world has so much to pull from, and too much of the map is filled with generic buildings, making it feel limited as a representation of Springfield. There's also the Fortnite mashup references. It makes a lot of sense to have these here, but I can't say I'm interested in Slurpman or Durr Burger. Still, the only reason why I have these complaints at all is because they set the quality bar so incredibly high with this map. I loved exploring this island, and finding more and more of its secrets with every match I played. It really was something special, and it set a higher standard for what a 3D Simpsons game should be. There were seasonal accolades which all use Simpsons references, those being Disembiggening for killing someone wearing the statue head, Put It On My Tab for consuming Slurp at Moe's, Work SMRT for emoting at Homer's workstation, and Dissing Your Fly Girl for emoting then shooting a shotgun. None of these were required to do, it was just an extra way to earn more XP. To earn another Simpsons item, you could jump into Ranked mode. Ranked mode is similar to the normal Battle Royale mode, only you gain and lose points based on performance, which determines your overall rank, with the aim to increase your rank as much as possible, which also affects the skill level of the players you go up against. By opening chests, killing players, getting into the top 10 and winning games, you could complete ranked quests and unlock more rewards. Almost all of them weren't Simpsons themed, apart from the final reward, which was a pickaxe to the Jebediah Springfield statue. There were many colour variations of the pickaxe to use, and which ones you could use was tied to how high your rank was for the season. The colours for the top 3 ranks added in a glow and a moving texture to the pickaxe. There was also an extra reward for getting a Victory Royale, which means winning a game in Fortnite. Getting a Victory Royale at any point in the season gave you the Safety Inspector Umbrella Glider, which was based on Homer's workstation. If you also took part in one of the Ranked Cups, which were competitive modes that only lasted a few hours each time, and you were able to earn 50 or more points, you got a ranked version of this umbrella with the same colours as the statue pickaxe. The event that kicked off the season showed a short Simpsons clip, and this kicked off the story that lasted across the entire season. To continue on that story, there was a series of quests for the players to complete, called Springfield Stories. The first set that was made available during week 1 were called Apocalypse Dole. There were 8 stages to complete. The first was to visit different locations, the second to destroy signs, the third to emote near a boss, and the fourth to damage a boss. Bosses were AI-controlled enemies that could spawn randomly on the map, and killing them would drop some good loot. For the first week of the Simpsons season, the bosses were Witch Marge, Evil Homer, and Krusty. The other stages for the week 1 quest were convincing Homer to give up his remote, completing a delivery from the Quickie Mart, destroying objects at the town hall, finding remotes at the Simpsons house, and confronting Homer again. The story here is that Homer has the powerful crystal remote, so you're working with the Fortnite characters to try and get it back. These quests weren't particularly fun to complete. They range from being very easy to being unnecessarily annoying. The issue is that you have to complete the quest in Battle Royale modes, which means dropping onto an island with 79 other players and trying to complete them while everyone else is trying to kill you. It means you have to deal with people interrupting you while completing a quest, or you might just have bad RNG, which makes the quest harder. It took ages to find a boss character, as they spawn in randomly, so that quest is mostly about getting lucky. These type of quests are typical for Fortnite. There's always an ongoing story, and they use these quests to give out extra XP, and it also gives players interesting things to do as they update and change the map. As someone who doesn't play this game and haven't done quests like these before, I'll say that these quests weren't fun to complete. It also raises a big question when it comes to the island. Why wasn't there a mode available to allow people to explore it? You could only play on this map in Battle Royale modes, so you're always going up against other players who could very easily kill you. In order to have time to look around properly, I had to use a mix of replay mode and private custom lobbies, and custom lobbies are only available to Fortnite content creators. Yes, that does mean I'm now a Fortnite content creator. Fortnite does provide more casual experiences with its other modes, where you can hang out with other players, but they didn't have a way to do that on the main map, even though that's where most players wanted to explore. Fortnite used to have a mode like this called Battle Lab, but it was removed in favour of the creative mode. The creative mode isn't the same thing, and considering how much absolute nonsense is in Fortnite, it seems like an own goal on Epic's part to not let people explore Springfield Island fully and enjoy the references at their own pace. Fortnite wouldn't be much of a live service game without regular updates, and things certainly did change as the season went on. On the 7th of November, the store was updated to add a Krusty the Clown skin. You could get the Krusty outfit for 1,500 V-Bucks or buy the bundle for 2,000 V-Bucks, which included a stuffed Mr. Teeny back bling, balloon animals as a pickaxe, and a clown car emote. This is similar to the Bart bundle, only you didn't get a music track despite it being the same price. Krusty was a great choice for an outfit. I couldn't see a Simpsons crossover without him, and they already did a lot of the hard work after making the Homer skin. My first impression of Krusty was that it looks too much like Homer, but the more I looked at the skin, the more the subtle details started to stand out. They added in bags under Krusty's eyes, and they did change the shape of Krusty's mouth to droop a bit more than Homer's. In the end, I actually really liked the Krusty skin. It was an obvious choice to include him, and the skin itself had solid execution. At the start of the season, there were a few Simpsons related weapons and items that could show up in matches. There were the super squishies that I previously mentioned, and if you ate Blinky, it gave you a temporary mid-air dash. There was only one Simpsons weapon to begin with, that being the revolver Mr. Blasty, a reference to the season 14 episode Treehouse of Horror 13. There was the normal version of Mr. Blasty and a mythic version that could only be found by killing Krusty when he spawns as a boss. This version of Mr. Blasty would attach Krusty balloons to people when you shot them, causing them to float in the air. The best thing about this is that the design for the Krusty balloon was taken directly from the Simpsons arcade. These extra weapons were easier to find in the Delulu mode, an alternative version of Battle Royale that was only available on the weekend. In Delulu, you squad up with other players during the match, and it's more focused on player interactions and chaos. On the 8th of November, the weapon pool was refreshed to add in 2 new weapons. One of these was the deodorant applicator, which was a ray gun, and is a reference to the season 19 episode Treehouse of Horror 18. The other weapon was the Cobalt Slingshot, a version of Bart's Slingshot that let you shoot radioactive rods that cause splash damage. On Monday the 10th of November, we got another Simpsons short to kick off week 2. This was called Sugar High, and it carried on the story of Homer using the Crystal Shard remote. Homer is talking to Professor Frink about the remote, and he gets the idea to turn clouds into donuts. Frink is sad that Homer won't give him the remote, so Homer turns him into a giant banana. It then went into a gameplay trailer, showing off the updates and changes made for week 2. It then returns back to Simpsons animation, with the residents of Springfield annoyed at Homer due to food raining down from the sky. Homer is made aware of this, so he throws the crystal into the reactor core at the nuclear power plant. He accidentally falls in as well, causing an army of Homer clones to appear. Over the course of the season, we got 4 of these shorts to tell the story and to tease what was coming next into Fortnite. You could watch these in-game, on YouTube, and they even got uploaded to Disney+. It wasn't only these shorts that the Simpsons team produced. At the beginning of the episode Bad Boys for Life from season 37, they included a Fortnite couch gag, with the Simpsons family eating the Fortnite character Peely. This episode aired on the 2nd of November, so the day after the season started. There was also an additional couch gag with the Simpsons dropping to the sofa like it's a battle royale. I don't think this one was shown as part of an episode, it was just an extra promotional short. The Simpsons team really went all in on this collaboration. It wasn't just Epic doing all the work and Fox approving it. This is something that Matt Selman, executive producer of The Simpsons, spoke to Rolling Stone about, saying that the humor is baked into every part of the experience, not just the visuals or dialogue, but in how Springfield actually feels to explore. From the way the world reacts to you, to the unexpected moments you stumble into, it all carries that unmistakable Simpsons tone. The hilarious Simpsons writers Jeff Westbrook and Ryan Coe worked closely with Epic to make sure the comedy feels organic and true to the characters, while still taking advantage of Fortnite's interactivity. There was also a Reddit AMA with Jeff and Ryan, who took questions and talked about the crossover. It really shows that the team was heavily involved with all this. Clearly there was a lot of time and thought from both teams to take full advantage of the crossover, and Epic being supported by the actual creative team and having the show join in with the tie-in made everything feel more genuine and exciting. On the 11th of November, the servers went down for maintenance for an hour and a half, and a new update was pushed. When the servers came back up and everything properly refreshed, quite a bit of content had unlocked. For logging in for week 2, everyone got the loading screen donut look up to help tell the ongoing story. A new bonus page for the Battle Pass was available, with alternative skins for Marge, Blinky Fiststicks, Flanders, and Homer. These skins were called Reactor Waste, and added a green and purple slime effect to each outfit. Visually, I think these look really nice. I like the bubbles and the way the skin moves, and the colours make it look like they're made out of gummies. I fail to see the connection to the show though. Reactor Waste does tie to Homer working at the nuclear power plant, but with the use of purple and green, the connection feels a little bit weak. These are bonus rewards for the Battle Pass, so it's okay that they're recolors. Is this the best they could have picked though? If they needed to make these recolors, I would have loved to have seen something like Homer in his pink shirt, although that episode has been banned by Disney, so maybe that just wasn't an option. I like the look of these skins, I just rarely found myself using them as they don't feel like proper Simpsons skins to me. Another set of bonus rewards for the Battle Pass also fully unlocked. These were called the Springfield Appealy rewards and were split across 2 pages. On the first page we have an outfit for Springfield Appealy, Potassium-nated Glavinator as a pickaxe, Springfield Appealy as an icon, Ralph's Treasure Dig as an emote, Springfield as a rap, Go Banana as a graffiti emote, and Banana Bunch Lunch as a back bling. So this is all based around the character Peely, a giant banana that has been a part of Fortnite for years. In terms of creating a Simpsons version of Peely, I would say they nailed it. Was there any need to make a Simpsons version of a giant banana? Probably not, but if they wanted to make this a proper crossover, I guess there were worse ways of doing it than taking one of their existing characters and making them more cartoony. I didn't have any interest in this content, but I won't judge too much as I grew up playing Time Splitters, which was just as nonsensical and weird with its characters. The second page is based around the Pillfessor Frink. You get the outfit for Pillfessor Frink alongside the Berserk Banana Beam emote, Pillfessor Frink's Fort Laboratory as a loading screen, Radioactive Bunch Lunch as a back bling, the Abominable Frinkman as a jam track, and Solid Steel Glavinator as a pickaxe. The Pillfessor Frink is the real attraction for these bonus rewards. It's a bit abstract as it's a mix of Professor Frink and a Fortnite banana using a cartoony art style. It's certainly distinct, and it works well as a fun mashup between the 2 worlds of Simpsons and Fortnite. I don't mind them getting a bit weird during this crossover. I like the character, but it doesn't mean that I wouldn't have preferred a Professor Frink skin instead. We've seen Professor Frink in other Simpsons games, but this was a real chance to be able to take control of him directly. It's a bit of a wasted slot, even if the execution of the character design is actually quite excellent. The jam track is something completely original. It's a song about Professor Frink, with someone else singing and Frink talking over the top. These are new voice clips from Frink as far as I can tell, with Frink mostly talking about science. The song is quite catchy, it's quite 80s sounding, and reminded me of something from Thomas Dolby, or the one song that I saw people mention online was Weird Science by Oingo Boingo. It may be the most original, new thing they created during the whole season. It's worth noting with these Peely bonus pages that you couldn't unlock the content by leveling up the Battle Pass. Instead, you had to complete weekly challenges, which were a fixed set of challenges available for each week of the season. I completed all the week 1 challenges, and that counted as unlocking the first 5 rewards. Week 2 added another 5 challenges, giving you a total of 10, so you couldn't unlock the Professor Frink during Week 2, and everyone had to wait until Week 3 for more weekly challenges to become available. For Week 2, there were a couple of changes to the map. As shown in the animated short, donuts would rain down from the sky, and there were multiple sets of large donuts placed all over the map. The majority of the island remained the same, there were just a handful of these donuts added to specific points. If you landed on the donuts, then you could find some items and weapons inside. During the second half of matches, donut storm circles would start appearing. The donut storms would randomly spawn, and would rain giant donuts down below for a short time. The donuts would knock players, destroy buildings, and get wedged into the ground, completely changing the look of the area. The donut storms did create some chaos during games, although their impact felt quite limited. They didn't start appearing until the second half of matches, and in the games that I played, most people were dead by then. Even if you did survive, the donuts only spawned in specific locations, and the chances were that you wouldn't be near them when they appeared. If you got to the end circles, you would definitely see them, and they were a fun distraction to mix things up. I managed to attach a crusty balloon to someone's car so it floated upwards, then the car got knocked down by a giant donut only for it to explode, and then I finished the person off as they tried to run away. It was a great fun moment that was created by these donut storms. I did like the idea, even if lower skill players or players who play solo didn't see these storms as often, as it was more difficult to get to the end of matches. There were 2 new bosses added into the rotation. Across the map, you could find TVs which play the opening of the Itchy and Scratchy show. Interacting with the TV caused Scratchy to climb out of it and attack you with a chainsaw. This was pretty funny to see, with just the right amount of being unsettling, with this being similar to a scene from The Ring. If you killed Scratchy, you could pick up and use the chainsaw, which was called the Cartoon Chainsaw, and it was a new weapon added for Week 2. It was a variation of a chainsaw that's been in Fortnite previously, and it let you melee people with it, and you could ride on the chainsaw to get around faster. The second boss added was Mo, who spawned in randomly on the map. Alongside Mo, the weapon 5-gun was added, a reference to the Season 9 episode, The Cartridge Family. This was 5 weapons in one, which functioned as either a shotgun or a submachine gun depending on how you fired it. Strangely, Mo didn't drop this weapon when you killed him as a boss. You found it when looting or completing mini-quests during matches. The Cartoon Chainsaw and 5-gun were both great choices for Simpsons-themed weapons. It looked so right seeing Scratchy with a chainsaw, and I liked the cel-shaded look of the weapon. I never got the most out of the chainsaw, as it could be tricky to take out players against someone who knows what they're doing with a shotgun, but that didn't stop it from being fun to use. I personally didn't find the 5-gun too useful, but hats off to Epic for getting it into the game and giving it a unique twist by letting you use it as a shotgun or an SMG. A new week meant a new set of Springfield Stories quests to complete. There were 7 stages to the Week 2 quests. The first was to survive in donut storms, the second to talk to Professor Frink or Ned Flanders, and the third stage had 2 parts, one to collect dangerous objects in donut storms, and the second to deal damage to opponents in donut storms. The 4th stage was to complete Homer's Lost and Found quest, the 5th stage was talking to the Professor Frink or Ned again, the 6th was collecting angry notes from eliminated players, and the 7th was bringing the notes to Homer. These quests were to tell the story of how Homer learned that everyone in Springfield was upset at him, filling in the gap of why Homer was trying to get rid of the crystal in the second half of the Sugar High short. These quests were a bit better than the Week 1 quest, but not by much. There was only 7 this time, and 3 of them were completed by talking to characters on the map. The trickiest parts were the stages involving the donut storms. As mentioned before, it wasn't simple to get into a donut storm, so you didn't always get a chance to attempt these quests during each match. I completed most of these quests on stream, when I was playing in a squad with people who were watching that stream, and that made things much easier. It's still not a great system. Having teammates gives you more breathing room to complete these quests, but it can mean not being involved with gunfights as you're prioritizing the quest over winning the battle royale, which isn't really fair on your team. It also meant it was harder to pay attention to the actual story elements. They added in new voice lines from Professor Frink, but I didn't hear them properly, as it's harder to stop and listen to something when you're in a squad of 4. On the 12th of November, the day after Week 2 officially started, there was a store update. This added a new character to the leftovers part of the store with Constable Sprinkle. There was a bundle that included the outfit, crawler cuffs as a pickaxe, donut lockup as back bling, Glazem as a wrap, and coffee break as an emote. This isn't a proper Simpsons character, but I like it as an extra side character for the crossover. Fortnite has a range of food-based characters, so it's a fun idea to create a new one using the famous pink donut. The price was very much right for this character, as it was 800 V-Bucks, which is about half the price of the other Simpsons characters. It was a fun bonus character for cheap at best, and it was an inoffensive extra at worst. This character didn't stick around though, and it was only available for 3 days, which feels a bit unfair. 2 days later, on the 14th of November, there was another store update, and Lisa Simpson was made available to purchase. There was once again a new bundle, which included the outfit for Lisa, Lisa's essential as back bling, Lisa's saxophone as a pickaxe, saxophone solo as an emote, and the monorail song as a jam track. The Lisa outfit looks pretty good, but I have the same complaints about this skin as I had about Bart. It's another character in a Meg, which they did for good reason, but it does lesser the skin, and just like with Bart, Lisa's mouth just looks a bit too amphibian. With Lisa added, all 4 main members of the Simpsons family were covered. Despite Bart and Lisa being a bit off, I'm glad that they did get all 4 of them in and made them all playable. The other content in the Lisa Simpson bundle ticks all the right boxes. You've got to have Lisa's saxophone as the pickaxe, as well as having an emote to play the saxophone, with the emote using the saxophone solo from the Simpsons opening. I really like the back bling, as they included the Malibu Stacy doll from the season 5 episode Lisa vs Malibu Stacy, with her having a brand new hat. Getting the monorail song was a really nice surprise. I didn't expect it to be added, and I didn't expect it to be taken from the 1997 album Songs in the Key of Springfield, a real album featuring many of the songs from the first 7 seasons. It's a big thumbs up from me. Love seeing the old album artwork, and the monorail song is a classic. At the same time Lisa was added, we got a Simpsons sidekick with Plopler. Sidekicks are animals that would follow you around during gameplay, basically allowing people to have their own pets. Plopler came with 4 unlockable rewards, which you unlocked by earning sidekick points, which you got by having your sidekick equipped. It included hoof prints on the ceiling emote, Plopler's heart reaction, bandana gussied up alternative style, and pig burp as a sidekick emote. Visually, Plopler looks perfect in Fortnite, and with how big Spider-Pig was when the Simpsons movie came out, I'm glad he got added. There's 2 problems with Plopler though. The first is that Plopler is not the most famous Simpsons pet. Santa's Little Helper is the main pet from the show, with the whole first episode being about them getting Santa's Little Helper. The Simpsons family also have Snowball too. Both Santa's Little Helper and Snowball 2 have been the family pets for years, yet we didn't get them at all, and we ended up getting Plopler instead. The second problem with Plopler is the price. Plopler costs 1,500 V-Bucks, which is the same price as one of the Simpsons characters. They tried to increase the value of the sidekicks by including the extra unlockables, but you're still spending the same amount of money to get a sidekick as you are a full character. There's definitely a real charm to having Plopler following you around during gameplay. You just have to ignore the high price and the fact that the other pets weren't included at all. Lastly, on the 12th of November, they added the Homer's Hedge Retreat as an emote to the store. It's one of the biggest Simpsons memes, so they kinda had to include it. I don't really love the emote itself. The hedges look a bit rough, and it was only available separately for 300 V-Bucks, and it was not included in any bundle. On the 16th of November, there was another store update, this time adding Mo Sislak. Mo had been appearing in all the trailers, and he was added as a boss, so we all knew he would appear eventually. There was an outfit for Mo, and there was a bundle which included a flaming slurp group emote and Mo's phone as a pickaxe. With all the main Simpsons family members already added, Mo was someone that had to be included as well. Mo is the character who's most at home shooting a gun. Mo having a gun in his hands just makes sense. The actual skin itself is almost amazing. Mo has the advantage of being one of the, let's just say, unique looking Simpsons characters, so it gave them a bit more wiggle room for Mo to look a bit odd. He's got his little pig nose and a nice exaggerated overbite. I don't understand this idle animation. He looks at the player and does this odd smile, and it doesn't suit Mo. Mo should be all twisted and angry, but instead his facial animations make him seem more awkward and shy. It's easy to overlook this animation, as in-game you never really see it, and they got everything else spot on. Something else that helps is that Mo was the cheapest Simpsons character that was available on the store. Mo was 1,200 V-Bucks rather than 1,500 like the other characters. It's kind of funny that they made Mo the cheapest character, but no complaints here. 1,200 V-Bucks is much more reasonable and something I was very happy to pay to own Mo. The Mo bundle was 1,500 V-Bucks with the extra remote and pickaxe, and I do think they dropped the ball here with these two extras. The flaming slurp is a fun idea, as it added a way to share a flaming drink with a group of other players. It just isn't flaming Mo's, it's flaming slurp, and there's a purple bottle, but it doesn't look like the crusty cough syrup, and they're all drinking out of cooling tower mugs. It's all just a bit too off for my taste. I wish it matched flaming Mo's or even normal drinking that characters would do at Mo's. The pickaxe is Mo's phone, and as something for Mo to use, it's a sensible choice, with the prank calls being so iconic. For a character as psychotic as Mo though, having his pickaxe be the phone feels like a waste. This is someone that threatened Jimbo with a rusty knife. Give me one of his knives, or even better than that, a board with a nail in it. I've been a bit negative about Mo, so just to clarify, it was great to see him appear on the store and the price was just right. I just don't think they covered his unhinged side as well as they could have. The Simpsons short for week 2 included a teaser for week 3, with the last section showing Homer getting cloned. On the 18th of November, week 3 started with the short Multiplidiocy, which carried on the clone story. The Homer clones have invaded Springfield, with Bart and Lisa trying to figure out how to bring the real Homer back, while Wiggum fights off the clones. This goes into gameplay footage, showing the Homer clones appearing during matches, and the new purple look of the map. The last part is a teaser for week 4, where Homer has been restored, but has the crystal shard inside him, so he's a giant. It was quite nice getting these shorts, although while the first one at the launch event was 5.5 minutes, the second and third shorts were 3 minutes and 2 minutes respectively, and both had gameplay footage in the middle of them. It made them feel less substantial. I was hoping these could be strung together to make a mini episode of The Simpsons, but they didn't have enough content for that to pan out. It's hard to actually complain about these though, as they acted as trailers, and having weekly trailers for each update that used proper Simpsons animation was a really cool thing. These trailers also featured the actual Simpsons voice cast reprising their roles, which brings me onto something else that stood out about this crossover. One of the more positive, standout qualities about Simpsons video games is the fact that they nearly almost brought in the actual voice actors. They did rip lines from the show as well, but if you were playing a Simpsons video game as far back as the very first one, you were likely going to hear voice acting. The 3D games were not shy about showing this off, and if you played The Simpsons Wrestling, Road Rage or Hit and Run, you would have heard so many different voice lines from so many different characters. Other licensed games use their actual voice actors too, but I would say the commitment to getting genuine voice lines from the cast is a key feature of Simpsons video games. Part of the reason Fortnite can have so many characters from so many franchises in the game is because it's designed in a way that means the characters never have to speak. Fortnite allowed you to play as a range of different Simpsons characters, but none of them would ever talk. It felt like something was missing when you were running around as Homer and never hearing Dan Castellaneta's voice. It's a limitation that made the Simpsons characters feel less Simpson-y. I love that you can play as Mo, but I would have loved more to hear Mo make a comment after killing someone during a match. Your character may never speak, but they got some voice acting into the game. Some of the gags like the prank calls to Mo have voice acting, and completing quests could play dialogue in game, although most of the dialogue was ripped from the episodes of the show rather than being anything new. Interestingly, there was one way to hear new dialogue, and that was from the bosses. Bosses would play voice lines if you got near them, and they recorded a whole set of new voice lines for these. It's actually quite impressive how many lines they've recorded for every situation.
Why is everyone down on being evil? It's easy and it rules. Who goes before the Lord of Darkness? And did you bring snacks? You'll regret messing with Homer J. Evil. It's a new name I'm trying out before I change it legally.
Oh, Marge, you are bewitching. Hey, that works on 2 levels. I'm a funny witch. Has anyone seen my cat? She's possessed and has the cutest little mitten paws. Bart, have you been using my good bat wings? You know those are for company.
Lurking in the shadows, eh? Well, that describes all my customers. No one eliminates me but me. Look at me jumping in shadows. Usually I'm leaping out of them.
Marge!
It's too bad then that these didn't play that often, and when they did, the dialogue usually got drowned out by the sound of shooting. With the new trailer released for week 3, the next set of weekly challenges were available. This meant it was now possible to unlock the last of the Pillfester Frink rewards, including the actual skin itself. This skin really grew on me by the time I could unlock it, and it became my go-to skin for a short period. It's such a fun design just to look at. There was also a new login reward for week 3, with another loading screen by Bill Morrison called the Slob Mob, based on Homer getting cloned. The map wasn't updated on the 18th of November, meaning some things had been made available, but not everything yet, and we had to wait until the patch came out the next day. Something else happened though in the real world. An army of Homer Simpsons invaded Santa Monica. A group of people dressed as Homer, as well as a few Pillfester Frinks, took to the streets and wandered around, occasionally dancing. Not only that, but Matt Groening was there too, and danced with all the Homers. Yes, the 71-year-old creator of the show was dancing in the streets of Santa Monica. This isn't something I should like. It's a blatant publicity stunt to promote Fortnite, a cynical game that abandons content and charges far too much for its skins. I find this too bizarre to dislike though. It's silly, it's something kids were enjoying, and seeing someone like Matt Groening getting involved was just nice. It's further proof of how much the Simpsons team got involved with this, and it was hard not to get sucked in with how much they committed to what was just 4 weeks of content updates. The updated map for week 3 went live on the 19th of November, after 30 minutes of the servers being down. When the servers went back up, we saw quite a number of changes. Due to the crystal shard falling into the nuclear core, the cooling towers started shooting purple out of them, creating new clouds in the sky. The purple radioactive waste was pouring into Lake Springfield, which resulted in both the lake and the connected rivers turning purple. The radioactive glow that was previously at the farm for Cletus's cornhole turned from a healthy green to purple. To the south of the map, a new mysterious pink cloud formation appeared, which had an odd glow. The main change that Fortnite fans lightly cared about was a countdown for the chapter finale 0 hour appearing in the middle of the town square. There were a few more minor updates to the map. Near the squid port there was a billboard added that said "Donuts Outlawed, TV for emergency use only." The sign outside the town hall was updated to say "Clones elect new mayor, a clone." Another sign got updated at the Aztec Theatre about the snack bar being replaced by a giant donut. Both of these elements were updated for week 2 as well, I just completely missed it at the time. Hey, it's Editing Tom here once again, stepping in for what I hope is going to be the final time. I've missed something. If we take a closer look at the Aztec Theatre, we can see that the film posters aren't the same ones that I showed off during the breakdown of the map. It turns out that as part of the week 2 map update, 5 of the posters got replaced. We can see 2 of the new ones on the outside wall and to the left of the entrance, which were for the episodes Oh Come All Ye Faithful and The Fast and the Furious, which were both Disney Plus exclusive episodes. There was another post on the right side of the entrance which is a bit hard to see in this screenshot, sorry about that, but it's for the 3rd Disney Plus exclusive episode, Yellow Planet. If you've watched this far into the video and was getting scared that the Disney logo hadn't been seen yet, well, I have some great news. The Disney logo did make it into the game. 3 cheers for Disney buying up and controlling every franchise. Lastly, the KBBL radio station started glowing green as well. The majority of the POIs were largely untouched, and the core of the map was the same, but for a weekly map update, they made the most of it. The bright purple of the waves was quite distinctive, and they left the giant donuts that were added for week 2, meaning overall it all felt very different, especially compared to the launch version of the map. There were overall more changes in week 3 compared to week 2, and that was also true for the gameplay. The purple waste infecting the island wasn't only cosmetic, it had gameplay effects as well. The nuclear power plant became a low gravity zone, where anyone at the power plant was able to jump higher and further due to the lower gravity. At the farm, the tomatoes started glowing purple and were turned into tomatoes? Throwing these would heal you and give you a low gravity effect for a short time. The lake and rivers were purple, but you could still enter them without getting hurt, and going into the water would give you a temporary air dash, the same one that you would get for eating Blinky. As eye-catching as these changes were, the week 3 map was all about the Homer clones. Homer clones could be found spread around the map, and they were mostly passive. At random points in the map, a giant donut would appear which would start spawning Homer clones. These were aggressive, and would start attacking the player if you got near. In order to stop them spawning, you had to shoot the giant donut to destroy it. I mentioned the lack of voice acting before, and I guess I must have been holding a monkey's paw when talking about it, as you can hear the Homer clones scream and shout as they attack you, but it was much louder than anything in the game. I have the main volume set to 30% in Fortnite, but it seems like there was a bug where the Homer clones weren't affected by the main volume slider, meaning the screams all played at 100%. Gameplay wise, the other change was a new set of mythic variants of 4 weapons, each with their own Simpsons related name. These could be found by destroying Homer cloners or by completing Lost and Found quests. Week 3 had its own set of quests for Springfield stories, this time focused on Lisa and Bart trying to bring Homer back. We had 9 stages for week 3, the first being to complete Lisa's Lost and Found quest, the second to eliminate 10 of the Homer clones, the third to talk to Lisa, and the fourth to play a jam track on top of Moe's. The 5th stage was to talk to Bart, the 6th to spray or barter at 3 POIs, the 7th to go to Krusty Burger or Lard Lad, and the 8th to replace the food with vegan food. None of what you do works, so you either talk to Bart or Lisa as the last stage to wrap up all these quests. These quests were easier than the ones from the first 2 weeks, which is an improvement, but sadly they still weren't all that interesting. I've complained about these quests quite a bit, but there's another couple of problems with these quests that I want to highlight. The first is that the trailer for each week already teased what would happen next week, making the story you're experiencing completely pointless. It's all busy work that vaguely connects to the general story without having any real impact. The second issue is that even if you're interested in the dialogue you get from the Simpsons characters, you can't really read it anyway. Even if you're not in a squad, it's still hard to just stop for a second and read all the dialogue to take it in, and you might end up just skipping dialogue to tick off the quest. As far as I'm aware, you can't replay these quests, or you can't read this dialogue any other way. If you miss something, then you're just gonna have to Google it. The more of the Springfield stories I completed in Fortnite, the less I was convinced that they made any sense. They were either frustrating or pointless. Believe it or not, this video isn't a critique of Fortnite. I just want to see the silly yellow people jump around and enjoy all the references to the show, but I do want to take a second to talk about the structure of Fortnite. For most of week 2, I found myself getting quite bored of the game already. During that first week, I was excited about the crossover, but that had subsided by week 2, and after finishing the Battle Pass, I found myself with little to do. I was torn between wanting to play the game because I didn't want to miss out due to it only being live for a short time, and not really having a good enough reason to play it. Week 3 was much better, and they made enough changes for it to stand out and be more interesting. All the week 2 changes remained on the map, which meant we had the donut storms and a range of Simpsons themed weapons alongside the Homer clones and the effects of the purple radiation. We also had a better variety in bosses, so putting this all together, it was much more common to come across some type of in-game event, adding more chaos and unexpected moments during each match. Week 3 was better, but after a couple of days, I didn't have any drive to play it anymore. I don't think Fortnite as a battle royale is too bad, but Fortnite's strengths are its general simplicity, broad appeal, sense of community, and being something that's easier to get into than other BRs. Fortnite is hyper-focused on engagement systems and mechanics, but it comes at a cost. In week 1, I was juggling all the different game modes to complete quests and challenges in order to unlock Simpsons cosmetics, and when that driving force went away because I had done everything, it left a game that felt shallow. I don't dislike it. Fortnite controls well enough, is especially fun to play with other people, and there is a large variety of different modes to play. It just wasn't enough to remain interesting as the core gameplay doesn't stand up on its own. This might be a redundant point for some people, as Fortnite has transitioned into a wider platform rather than just a battle royale game, but that doesn't make it any less shallow. It just means there's a large amount of shallow content, and the game as a whole needs constant updates and engagement hooks to keep you interested. I believe that's somewhat the point, and Fortnite has been very successful with its approach of bringing people into its system and keeping them there. It just felt odd that as someone who loves The Simpsons, and someone who was impressed by the crossover content, and loved playing as Simpsons characters on a great looking Springfield map, and this was the first time we could do this for years, and there was a time pressure to all of this, that this competitive game that plays pretty well couldn't remain interesting for the full 4 weeks. Speaking of odd, alongside the new 0-hour countdown in the middle of the map, on the 19th of November, there was also a new trailer for Fortnite. This was for the chapter finale live event, happening on the 29th of November, which featured a giant Homer helping fight the alien that we saw at the start of the season. From the 19th of November up until the end, the focus shifted towards the end of the season, and hyping up this big new event and the start of chapter 7. The background of the lobby screen was changed to remove the Simpsons house, and instead had a countdown to the new event. We were 19 days into the Simpsons takeover of Fortnite that only lasted 4 weeks in total, and the game was already moving on, already trying to get people excited for the next thing. It's almost an acknowledgement that the Simpsons content wasn't enough anymore, and it was time for everyone to jump onto what was coming next instead. During the rest of week 3, we got some small changes on the map. The map was taken over by more of the purple infection, the clouds above the nuclear power plant became bigger, and the pink clouds that were south of the island started growing in size, and they started to look more like Homer. Over the weekend, the Battle Royale modes were changed into no sweats. This reduced the number of players in each match, going from 80 down to 60, and the deodorant applicator's drop rate was increased to make it more common. XP earned was supercharged as well, making it faster to level up and easier to finish with the battle pass if you hadn't done so already. On the 23rd of November, Mo was removed from the store and was replaced with Scratchy. There were 3 items available to purchase: a Scratchy outfit, Scratchy's axe as a pickaxe, and Itchy as a sidekick. We knew Scratchy was going to be added as an outfit to the game, thanks to all the leaks, and he could be seen in the background of the Kia released before the season even began. It felt like a wasted character when it was leaked. Out of everyone from The Simpsons, there must have been a better choice than the cartoon cat. After Scratchy was released and I got to play as him, his inclusion made so much sense. The skin itself looks perfect, as this is a cartoon character that's supposed to be a giant cat rather than a human like the other characters. The design translated easier into 3D. Scratchy uses plenty of different weapons when trying to get Itchy in the show, so it was a more natural fit to see him in Fortnite shooting guns. The pairing of playing as Scratchy and having Itchy follow you around as a sidekick was so charming. It worked so well seeing a little Itchy near you, and you could high-five him whenever you wanted, and he would even make noises just like Itchy. I stand by saying Flanders is the best skin, but Scratchy became my favourite, as they pulled this off extremely well. It's a shame then that this was subject to more high pricing. The bundle to get Itchy, Scratchy and his axe cost 2,500 V-Bucks. Individually, Scratchy was 1,500 V-Bucks, Itchy was 1,500 V-Bucks as well, and Scratchy's axe was 500 V-Bucks. You saved money with the bundle, but the bundle still cost the equivalent of about £16. It should have been at least 2,000 V-Bucks. I said this before, but the sidekick pricing was far too high during this season. To try and justify the pricing, Itchy, just like the other sidekicks, had 4 additional rewards you could unlock by having him equipped during matches. These were Scratchy attack emote, Itchy's love bomb reaction emote, an alternative look for Itchy with his shirt being blue, and an axe to grind as a sidekick emote. Not too much here, especially with the alternative look being a boring recolor. The emote stands out though, as is this a reference to the forgotten Itchy and Scratchy game from 1995? It's not the exact same design, but it's similar enough that I think it might be. I never thought I would see Fortnite of all things reference the Itchy and Scratchy game. On Monday the 24th of November, the final Simpsons short was released, The Incredible Bulk. Hope, Jones and the Simpsons family are looking at Homer, who's giant and in his underwear, and discussing how to get Homer back to normal size and remove the crystal shard from inside him. It then cuts to some gameplay footage before cutting back, where Hope suggests that Homer needs to help them defeat the Demon Master, which Homer agrees to. This was the worst short by far. Pretty much nothing happens. The previous shorts continued on the story, gave a short look at the gameplay changes for that week, and then teased the next week. This one didn't have anything to show. Fortnite was full steam ahead with the end of the chapter event happening that Sunday, so this was just setting up that event. The animation felt like a step back too. The background was just blue skies for most of it. If I can get really nerdy, this shot is incorrect, as it shows the nuclear power plant being to the northwest of the island when it was actually to the northeast, behind the Springfield sign on the other side. It was a really weak ending, and one that only makes sense if you had already moved on from The Simpsons and was focusing on the next event, which Fortnite fans already were. Something else that happened on the 24th of November is that the pink clouds to the south of the island changed again slightly, this time looking even closer to Giant Homer. On the 25th of November, Week 4 officially started in-game, and we got a login reward with another loading screen called The Embiggening, showing off a Giant Homer chasing the playable Simpsons characters. On the same day, Homer formed from the pink clouds and his head could be seen poking out of the sea. We also got the last set of signs that you could find outside the town hall and the Aztec Theatre. The final set of Springfield stories unlocked at the same time, with 8 stages to complete. The first stage was completing Marge's Lost and Found quest, the second was to talk to Marge about who can help, the third was to talk to the Pillfessor Frink, and the fourth was to recover the hamburger earmuffs from the town square and the sarcasm detector from Flanders' house. The fifth stage was to talk to Marge, collect photos, and place them on the giant billboard. The sixth stage was to emote in front of Homer in the sea, the seventh stage to collect the 0-point shard, and the final stage was to talk to Hope at the power plant. In terms of story, these were the best set of the season by far. One of the problems with the previous quests is that they didn't really feel connected to the overall story, as the weekly trailers already gave away what was going to happen. As you were doing things like convincing Homer and collecting the 0-point shard, they didn't feel like that this time. This also had one of the best standout moments of the season. When trying to get the giant Homer's attention, you drive across the map collecting photos by driving through rings. This felt a lot like playing a modern version of Hit and Run, whether that was intentional or not. When you placed the photos on the billboard, they spelt out "Do It For Us" from the season 6 episode and Maggie Makes 3. It's a really nice update to one of the best moments of the Golden Age, and not only that, but they used a variety of different moments from the show to create these photos. We also got a great exchange between Homer and Marge here, with new dialogue recorded that you could hear over the radio. It was such a great idea and it was such a nice moment, but there was a range of little things that brought this down for me a bit. The first is that I already knew about it. When browsing Fortnite communities online, it can be difficult to avoid leaks, even if you're not looking for them, and this is something that got leaked ahead of time. The second thing is that these quests were tough to complete. I've already mentioned the problems with these quests taking place during a Battle Royale match, and these problems were especially true for Week 4. 3 of the stages involved Marge, which meant you had to go to the Simpsons house to talk to her. I died so many times trying to talk to Marge, as everyone was trying to do the same thing, and the Simpsons house was already a prime place for hot dropping before these quests even existed. I'm sure there was some more sensible ways I could have approached this. I just wanted to get these quests done, and talking to a character shouldn't be this difficult. The third problem was that the Week 4 quests were only available for 4 days, rather than the usual 7, which put more pressure to complete them as fast as you could. This meant more people hot dropping, more chaos, and if you just happened to be busy that week, you may have missed out on one of the cooler references across the entire season. The fourth thing was just trying to take in the content while being in a Battle Royale. I know I'm just repeating myself here, but I would have loved to have just experienced this without the fear of being killed. The final problem I'm going to mention is that the quests weren't repeatable. There was another player near the billboard, and if they had killed me, I wouldn't have been able to see the Do It For Us billboard at all, as the photos don't stay there for future matches. The idea is really solid, but it had to go through the Fortnite filter, and it made it fall a little bit flat. In an actual Simpsons game, this would have been amazing, but in Fortnite, it's pretty cool, but just poorly implemented. I really don't mean to complain about this so much, because I did think it was really cool. It just feels like such a waste due to such clumsy execution. Okay, before moving on, to ensure I can sleep well tonight, let's take a proper look at the photos used on the billboard. They all came from somewhere, so let's put some episode names to these photos. Starting in the top left corner, we have Homer reading a book to Lisa in bed, from the season 30 episode Dadicus Finch. Saying it's from the episode is a bit of a half-truth, as there's no scene in the episode where Homer reads to Lisa in bed. Instead, this was a still featured in the credits and was a promotional image for the episode. Underneath the do, we have Bart about to hit Homer with a chair, which comes from the season 8 episode A Millhouse Divided. This image is the same frame as the image on the Simpsons fandom wiki about this meme. It's even cropped the same way, which means Epic likely took the image from here rather than the episode itself. To the right of the do, we have Homer guarding the rest of the family, which comes from the season 4 episode Treehouse of Horror 3. Underneath the 4, there's Lisa ringing a bell while sitting on Homer's shoulder, which comes from the season 7 episode Lisa the Iconoclast. Next to that photo, we have Homer kneeling down to talk to Bart, which comes from the season 13 episode The Lastest Gun in the West. The photo underneath was a bit trickier to track down, as it's partially covered and it's from a modern episode, but this shows Homer, Bart, Lisa and Maggie riding a small train, and it comes from the season 24 episode Dangers on a Train. The other photo covering this one shows Homer and Lisa hugging and comes from the season 4 episode Lisa the Beauty Queen. Above all these photos, we have Homer and Lisa cooking marshmallows at the power plant, which comes from the season 7 episode Bart on the Road. To the right of the it, we have Homer and Marge standing outside naked, which comes from the season 9 episode Natural Born Kissers. Above that photo, we have a photo of Maggie in her crib, and it comes from the season 4 episode Lisa's First Word. Underneath that photo, we have Homer and Marge shortly after Maggie was born, from the season 6 episode And Maggie Makes Three. On the right side of the billboard, the top photo shows Homer and Marge getting married, and it comes from the season 3 episode I Married Marge. The bottom photo shows Homer and Marge after their prom, from the season 2 episode The Way We Was. That leaves the final photo to the left of us, which is a shot of the family in the TV room. This one is the only one that isn't taken from an episode, and is a generic promotional image from the early years of the show. For some reason, it seems to get a lot of usage on non-English websites whenever they report about The Simpsons. According to some cheeky bugger who's selling it as a stock photo online, it comes from season 3 in 1991. I sadly couldn't verify this, but looking at the colouring and art style of the image, that sounds about right to me. If you wanted proof that people had moved on from The Simpsons content before the mini-season ended, I couldn't find any lists online saying where all these photos came from. At the start of the season, the internet became flooded with everyone listing all the Easter eggs and references that you could find all over the map. All that energy had just disappeared by this point, and no one bothered to break this one down. The coverage was so weak that Ali A, a famous Fortnite content creator, shared an image of the billboard but got several details wrong about it. It's a shame, as it's a really nice set of photos that they used, all tying into the theme of Homer being close with his family. This idea was really just one for the fans. Well, the fans that stuck around until the end of the season and managed to complete all the quests within the overly short time frame. On the 26th of November, we got the final store update for The Simpsons, with Tighty Whitey Homer being made available to purchase. There was the Tighty Whitey Homer outfit, which included a stretch and scratch emote, and a bundle with Homer's toolbox as back bling, and Wonder Bat as a pickaxe. The outfit with the emote was 1,500 V-Bucks, and the bundle was 2,000 V-Bucks. It was a funny idea for a skin, and I especially enjoyed the Wonder Bat being added as a pickaxe, a reference to the season 3 episode Homer at the Bat. Homer being near naked for this skin meant that you could see his nipples, which actually became its own mini news story. Whenever shirtless male characters were added into Fortnite previously, they removed their nipples. Homer was the exception, with him retaining his nipples for this skin. I can't say I have too much to say about all this, it was just too odd not to mention. The pricing lined up with other bundles and outfits, but the pricing felt especially bad this time as it wasn't a brand new character. This was an alternative look for Homer that was sold as a standalone outfit rather than a new style, which was different to how evil Homer was handled. Despite the skin being pretty good, it wasn't enough to justify what they charged. When there were extra styles included in the Battle Pass of similar quality, I don't see how this version of Homer would have required more work to say it should cost the same as a brand new skin. Tighty Whitey Homer was the final character added into Fortnite for the mini-season. That means the complete set of characters we got were Homer with Evil Homer and Tighty Whitey variants, Marge with Witch Marge variant, Bart and Lisa both in mechs, Flanders with a stupid sexy variant, Krusty the Clown, Moe and Scratchy. There was also the crossover skins, with Blinky Fishstick, Springfield Appealy with Frink variant, and Constable Sprinkle. Overall, it was an excellent offering. Can't go wrong with the main 4 members of the Simpsons family, and Flanders, Krusty and Moe are right up there in terms of the most popular side characters. Scratchy also surprisingly was a great fit, made even better with the inclusion of Itchy as a sidekick. The big issue with representing the Simpsons is that you're always going to leave someone out. It's impossible to please everyone when you can only have a certain number of characters in the game. I think they did a good job selecting which characters to include, and they also did a good job with the extra styles, like with Stupid Sexy Flanders. In the Reddit AMA, it was stated that if they could have added another character, it would have been Groundskeeper Willie, who would have been good too, but feels less essential than the characters that they did pick. I do also like the Fortnite crossover characters, largely due to how great the designs turned out. They still ended up feeling like a bit of a wasted slot, but not a complete waste. They did make the most out of these Fortnite characters. There are problems with the Simpsons outfits. The faces can look a bit off, the mechs for Bart and Lisa really make them feel lesser, and the reactor waste versions didn't feel connected enough to the show. Also with the sidekicks, both Santa's Little Helper and Snowball 2 got left out. These problems don't stop this from being a solid list of characters, and I sincerely hope they do a second season of The Simpsons in Fortnite so even more characters can be made using this art style. The other problem with the skins though was the price. In order to get everything that was released during the 4 weeks of the season, it cost 16,900 V-Bucks, which works out to about £94 or $121. There is no way I would have purchased all these skins if I wasn't making this video. A set of cosmetics in Fortnite is simply not worth nearly £100. The sensible approach here is to not buy everything, get the battle pass as it was cheap, and then maybe 1 or 2 skins of the store that you really like. Practically that's what most people should do, but I don't think that expectation justifies charging so much for the complete set. All the Simpsons content in Fortnite costs more than a copy of Mario Kart World, a game that was slated for its high price, and it will likely be more expensive than GTA 6 whenever that's released. It also doesn't help that none of the store items were available across the entire mini-season. If you wanted a specific skin, you had a limited time window to purchase it. If you didn't have the money for a skin that was only available for 1 week, then tough. The skin would be taken off the store, and you can only hope for them to rotate it back in at some time in the future. This is a part of Fortnite and other live service games that people have accepted. Even if they get upset about a certain skin being overpriced, there's no boycotts anymore. People are too invested in these games, and companies like Epic do enough to keep their customers on the hook with free updates and cheap battle passes. This is a bigger issue in gaming, but for how this impacted those playing the mini-season, it meant there was a very high chance of missing out on these skins due to their limited availability and high price point, which is unfortunate as the skins were well made overall. The rest of the week was quiet, with no real updates and the focus being on the upcoming event. Players were starting to say goodbye to the mini-season, while trying to finish the battle pass or any remaining quests they had left. The final event was at 7 PM UK time on the 29th of November, so I jumped on stream before it started and played a final set of games with people from my chat and fellow YouTuber Muckluck. 40 minutes before the event started, the other modes were removed, so we had one last game with a group of 4 running around as Flanders. After winning our final game, we went back to the lobby and joined the event. Unlike the launch event, you could join a server and explore a small area before the event officially started. This area was a small bunker, with Hopes and Jones in the middle, preparing for the upcoming battle teased in the trailer, with a countdown to when everything would start. There was a window where you could look at the Springfield town square, with a giant Homer sleeping across it. There was a button to press to drop a donut on him to try and wake him up, which didn't really do anything. An odd note about this area, it seems to be a unique version of Springfield Island, with it being stripped of detail around the edges, and the billboard on the right side of the town square was different to the full version. It was Krusty doing funerals on the actual map, but here was the Cletus billboard instead. You had up to 40 minutes to kill here, which gave a long opportunity to look around. Outside of looking out the window, you could climb upwards on these pipes and use the valves to vent some steam. There were a few reused Simpsons assets from the main map, like the Krusty from the Rumpus Room. There was a couple of newspapers called Springfield Today that looked very hastily put together, and there were jars of pickled eggs with a cockroach in them. I didn't recognise these items from the full map, but I assume they came from Moe's, as a reference to the Season 9 episode, Lisa's Sacks. There was a flooded tunnel filled with rakes that looped back to the main room. We ended up having a couple races through the tunnel, which was pretty fun. The countdown finished, Hope and Jones made a call to other dimensions for help, and they attempted to teleport the player to the battle. This doesn't go well, causing the player to go to a range of different dimensions, which were all different crossovers. This included teleporting on top of Homer's giant belly for a bit. Eventually the players reached the battle and took part in the fight against the alien creature. There was a range of different characters and franchises included, such as Star Wars, King Kong, Kill Bill, Godzilla, and of course a giant Homer who attempted to fight. After charging forward, riding on a bike, and using a jetpack, a giant cube appears and zaps the alien, finishing it off and saving the day. Homer goes back to normal size, and the event transitioned to a cutscene. This cutscene gave some backstory on the ongoing war that is taking place within Fortnite, a new island based on Hollywood with all the characters celebrating, before a giant orc zaps the battle bus, and the game went to a screen with a countdown to the official start of Chapter 7. If it felt like I rushed through this event, it's because I did, because it had nothing to do with The Simpsons. There was an ongoing Simpsons story that took place over the mini-season, and it didn't get any resolution with this event. Fortnite had simply moved on before this event even happened, and it was all about the new chapter, which sadly meant very little effort was made to have this event act as a send-off to Springfield Island and the Simpsons crossover. It was hard not to be disappointed when Giant Homer didn't have any real role in this event. The whole season was building to Homer becoming giant to join in on this fight, but if he had been removed, then nothing would have changed. Homer could be seen strangling a tentacle like he would strangle Bar, but he was such a background character, I missed this completely when playing the event. It made the final animation worse as well, as that was essentially the goodbye for the mini-season, but it made no real effort to act as an ending. I was hoping for another mini-episode like the start of this season, but there was nothing like that here. The event itself was actually quite fun. It was very over the top, and it was impressive how many different franchises made an appearance. It was silly in the right way, not something to be taken too seriously, but crazy enough to be enjoyable for what it was. The cinematic of Hollywood Island and the setup for Chapter 7 felt underwhelming, but I didn't care, as my time with Fortnite and The Simpsons mini-season had come to an end. It also didn't help that the final cutscene froze for me. It stopped near the beginning, and I had to restart the game in order to watch it properly. If there's one thing I've learned about Fortnite over these 4 weeks, is that it's pretty buggy. And that was it. All the Simpsons cosmetics I had earned and purchased could still be used, but the mini-season was over. It all became about the new chapter, with Springfield Island removed completely. Going into this mini-season, we all knew that it was a limited time thing. There was always a giant asterisk over all of this, and I was very ready to talk about game preservation to wrap things up. How the industry needs to do better when it comes to making older games available so they don't get lost to time. The more time I spent playing Fortnite, the more my perception of the problem of games preservation changed. If we take Hit and Run as an example, the issue is that the licensing of that game is a mess, meaning we have never seen an official re-release and it hasn't been available on current hardware for a couple of decades. With The Simpsons tapped out, it relied on servers running and it wasn't accessible when they went down, alongside the fact that content was rotated, meaning not everything was available even when the game was live. We're very lucky that fans have worked hard to help preserve these experiences. You can play Hit and Run on your PC, with mods bringing the game closer to modern standards, and Tapped Out can still be played, with the ability to rotate the different content. It's a shame that video game publishers aren't able to deliver on preservation of these games, but the fans have stepped up and it's now possible. Fortnite takes this a step further, where it's not just that Epic hasn't set up a proper official way to experience older content, the content itself is designed to be consumed and thrown away. It isn't built to last, instead prioritizing on getting people excited and always providing something new to ensure engagement from players, and ultimately that money is always being made. Even if the fans could try and preserve Fortnite content, they would both need to try and keep up with the ever ongoing updates and also try to recreate all the smaller permutations. To keep Springfield Island, you need to preserve all iterations of it. The launch version, the ones with donuts, the one with Homer clones, the one with pink clouds forming into Homer, which had 3 different forms, and the one with Homer in the ocean. These would need to stay in sync with the weekly quests, with there being 4 sets of quests that tied into a story that you would need so you could experience things like the Do It For Us billboard. Such an effort has been made for Fortnite content to be dynamic that it sacrifices any type of long-term accessibility for short-term hype. Epic made their money with the mini-season, and the content is designed in a way that makes it very difficult for both Epic and the fans to preserve it. I really don't enjoy that all this amazing content is gone, but what makes it worse is that it was made to perish. It was made to move aside for the next big thing. I would like companies to do better with preserving content, but it's becoming harder to do as what's being made across the industry now is much harder to preserve than anything that was released during the previous generations of games. You watching this video will likely never get to play this, and when they used a beloved long-running franchise like The Simpsons to build this mini-season, it's hard not to be cynical about the entire concept of live service and the disposable nature of content that has infected its business model and taints anything interesting that it delivers. Before I can fully wrap up, we have some additional modes to cover. In December 2023, Fortnite was expanded, and LEGO Fortnite was added to the game. This provided separate game modes where everyone was made out of LEGO. This means any new content Epic release could receive both a normal Fortnite version and a LEGO version. Due to this, it means we got LEGO versions of all the Simpsons characters. For the characters that already had a real-life LEGO figure, they recreated those figures in Fortnite. When I saw the Flanders LEGO character, it looked a bit weird to me, but it looks that way because it is one-to-one with the actual Flanders LEGO figure. It's amazing how close these models are to the actual figures. If you're a LEGO fan, I highly recommend checking these out if you're able to. There are unfortunately 2 exceptions, and that's with Bart and Lisa. Instead of wearing their normal iconic outfits, they're wearing a version of their mechs instead. I think this works as an alternative version of these characters, as a look that ties to how they look in Fortnite, but there is no way to wear their normal clothes. You can see them wearing their normal clothes in-game as NPCs, they just didn't add a way for the player to use them. I also need to mention that Bart's pupils are much bigger than the other characters. I don't really understand why. The actual LEGO figure didn't have his eyes look this way, and this just looks weird. With the LEGO characters, it feels like they nailed the more difficult aspect by recreating the actual figures so well, and then fumbled it in silly ways. Bart and Lisa are just not correct, and it feels like a deliberate choice, a choice that any Simpsons fan would tell you is the wrong one. All the base versions of the characters got a LEGO version, but not the alternative styles for each outfit. What this means is that we didn't get characters like Stupid Sexy Flanders, Evil Homer, and the Pillfessor Frink. With Tighty Whitey Homer being sold as a separate character rather than a new style, we did get a LEGO version of him. It's a shame, especially for the Pillfessor Frink, but it's somewhat understandable, with the LEGO modes being more side content. One of the LEGO modes you can play in Fortnite is called Brick Life. Rather than being a competitive battle royale, Brick Life is a more laid-back mode. You have an area to run around in, talk to characters, earn money, interact with players, build a house, or complete quests. which are either fetch quests or interacting with different things in the world. It's much slower pace and has a more relaxing vibe. It's for those who want to take it easy in a LEGO world while still having some stuff to do. During the mini-season, whenever you started Brick Life, you got a mini version of The Simpsons opening. This was all in LEGO, and the time of day would change depending on what time of day it was on the version of the map that you loaded into. LEGO Brick Life also updated its map, which is an area called Brick Bay, to include specific Springfield locations. This wasn't a Springfield specific map like the main game. Instead, it built upon the existing map and updated a few places. The centre of Brick Bay had Krusty Burger fans, which during the season were in direct competition with the Fortnite equivalent, Der Burger. When in this area, you could hear different Simpsons music, which could be the Simpsons theme, the Krusty the Clown Show theme, the Itchy and Scratchy theme, or the Land of Chocolate music. To the south of the centre was the Simpsons house. It's similar to the one on the main island, but it's all made out of Lego and had to be simplified to match that aesthetic. They also removed the rumpus room, downstairs toilet, and attic. That's it for Simpsons locations, but they did add several Lego Simpsons characters to talk to all across the map. We have Homer, Marge, Bart, Lisa, Ned, Milhouse, Nelson, Krusty, Chief Wiggum, Grandpa, and Mr. Burns. A few of these characters were never seen in the main game, so it was quite nice that they appeared in LEGO Brick Life instead. Most of the map wasn't Simpsons themed, but there were a few other references to see if you looked around. The newspapers you could pick up featured the article Old Man Yells at Cloud from the season 13 episode The Old Man and the Key. There was an additional newspaper you could see by looking at the pile itself, with the headline Bumblebee Man Caught in Sting from the season 17 episode 3 Gays and a Condo. This is also a real-life Lego piece that was included with the Quickie Mart Lego set. There was a couple of food items. In the square there were cans of Bus Cola, and in the Morndale Academy there were cartons of milk, as a reference to the season 6 episode The PTA Disbands. The last reference is the best one. Underneath the pier, you could pick up a mouldy old bear, which of course is Bobo, from the season 5 episode Rosebud. Brick Bay wasn't as Simpsons focused as the main island, but if you took the time, you could find references that were exclusive to Brick Bay, which were fun to check out. The main thing to do in Brick Life is complete quests, and a Simpsons themed set of quests was made available, called A Simpsons Favour. At launch there was 4 quests, helping out Homer, Bart, Marge, and Lisa, which was somewhat tied to the burger competition that was going on. For week 2, there were 4 more quests, helping out Mr. Burns, Homer, Lisa, and Krusty, switching more to taking on Mr. Burns instead. Week 3 only had 2 more quests to do to wrap up the storyline, with one quest helping out Bart, and the final quest to simply talk to Homer. By completing quests, you unlock parts of the Simpsons house, and unlocking all 10 parts allows you to build your own complete version of the LEGO Simpsons house. This means you could earn the LEGO Simpsons house for free, and could completely ignore the LEGO Battle Pass if you wanted. That's really generous, especially as the quests weren't that difficult. I sadly didn't enjoy these quests, and overall found LEGO Brick Life a bit disappointing. The quests could be quite hands-off. They'll tell you what to do, but not always where to go. For example, one quest has Bart telling you to throw cream pies at people. You don't get told where you can find cream pies. Bart implies he has some lying around, but that isn't true. I tried making some cream pies using the cooking mechanics, but there wasn't a recipe for them. Turns out there's a spot in the center area where you can pick up as many cream pies as you want. They weren't massively hidden or anything, but there's quite a few quests that do this. They ask you to do something specific and go to a very specific point on the map, but they won't say where that is. None of these quests were hard at the end of the day. I just didn't enjoy this type of quest. If you don't mind looking things up or have more patience for wandering around, then you'll be fine. It didn't help that between each of the main quests, you were forced to complete several non-story tasks. There was a fixed set of tasks that you had to complete, which were essentially busy work. They got re-rolled whenever you completed one, so you just had to do the same task over and over again to unlock each of the story quests. It was hard not to find doing the same basic task over and over again quite dull. My other disappointment came with the fact that this mode isn't as technically solid. Movement could often be laggy, and I found myself joining dead games where all the dialogue text was broken. The Week 2 quests were also broken for several days. You could complete the quest before they officially went live, and if you did that, the quest wouldn't get ticked off properly. This is something that was fixed by Epic after a few days. This mode did have some highlights. I did quite like the fishing quest. One of the Week 2 quests was to catch Blinky, and that worked better as something that was chill, but not too repetitive or unclear. The mode feels underbaked at the moment. It's cool to see the LEGO Simpsons characters, and there were some nice references included. It just feels like Epic has more work to do to make this mode worthwhile. If you're not interested in building your own LEGO house within the restrictions of this mode, or don't have much patience for something that's slower paced but also repetitive, then it's easily ignored. There really is a place for a mode like this. I think it could be really cool, it just didn't feel creative enough, it's too repetitive, and it doesn't have those high-level player-driven goals that games like Minecraft and Animal Crossing have to keep them interesting. Throughout the season, there were 3 songs released tied to The Simpsons. They weren't just for background music, you could play them in-game like an emote, and you could also play along to the songs in the Mo Fortnite Festival. This is their version of Rock Band, where you can play different songs using controllers or fake instruments. As there are only 3 Simpsons songs to play, with the main theme and monorail song being quite short, there wasn't much to do in this mode related to The Simpsons. The main appeal of this really was being able to have different Simpsons characters rock out to whatever song you like. Epic have their claws everywhere, which means at the same time that The Simpsons were crossing over with Fortnite, they also crossed over with Rocket League. The cars that you could buy in Fortnite, like the Homer car, could also be used in Rocket League, or purchased directly from the Rocket League store. From the 1st of November up to the 18th, there was a set of challenges to unlock Simpsons themed rewards. Nothing special about these challenges, you mostly just had to play matches, and you could mostly play as you normally would. Through these challenges, you could unlock Blinky as a topper, chalkboard lines as a trail, Homer's hedges as a banner, Ribwidge Fever as a rocket boost, Waste Wheels as wheels, Rygenaut as a topper, and Stonecutter's white walls as wheels. It was a surprisingly good set of cosmetics, to be honest. It was very much worth completing these challenges to unlock everything. There were no Simpsons arenas for Rocket League. Instead, the banners on the wall of the arenas had a Simpsons image added to them. This crossover wasn't as extensive as the crossover for Fortnite, but it wasn't meant to be. It was 2 or so weeks where there were a few extra banners in the arena and a solid set of unlockables to earn. It's a shame that Rocket League appears to be a bit dead. It was difficult to get any decent matches going, and the page for these unlockables on the Rocket League wiki is currently incomplete. If it wasn't obvious from the length of this video, this crossover was very impressive in terms of scope. The standard for these type of crossovers are a set of skins with maybe a new gameplay mechanic or small level that's themed to the other franchise. The Simpsons mini-season in Fortnite went above and beyond. We had a full map based on Springfield that not only recreated famous locations from the show, it also used a cel-shaded art style to create a faithful 3D version of The Simpsons. They had the impossible task of trying to represent a show that has been running for 37 seasons, and their solution was to cram in as much as possible. The list of references is huge, and sure, it would be easy to point out what is missing, and there are a few things I would have liked to have seen, but I can only applaud them for covering as much as they did. From the obvious references and memes to the more specific nods to the show that only the hardcore would notice, any type of Simpsons fan had something to enjoy. The creative team behind The Simpsons supported this crossover, and it shows. Despite how thorough I've tried to be, there are many references that I haven't mentioned yet, like all the text descriptions in the game, Marge recognizing Bob from Bob's Burgers, and of course the biggest Simpsons meme, steamed hams, which could be picked up and eaten. It wasn't only the Battle Royale modes in Fortnite, there were even more references that you could find in the LEGO modes and Rocket League as well. I spent a lot of time thinking about this mini-season, and when looking at all the different content, I keep coming to the same conclusion. They did an amazing job of creating a large range of Simpsons content for fans of the show to enjoy. but all the problems with it stem from forcing it into Fortnite. I know I've criticised Fortnite several times, so I'll say once more, I don't think it's a bad game to play. It can be a really great time playing it with other people, skillful moments like getting a victory royale feels really good, and as a multimedia crossover platform, nothing else can compare. However, Fortnite has a specific structure and it has its limits, and these limits manifested across the entire mini-season. The characters mostly look good, but in order to fit the correct proportions and work with Fortnite's animations, we have odd faces, legs that are too long, and of course Bart and Lisa in mechs. Some of the skins were also not as accessible due to how highly they were priced on the store. The Springfield stories had their interesting moments, but they were forced into a battle royale, making them harder to enjoy, and many of the quests were just padding to boost engagement. Springfield Island looked amazing, and it did its job perfectly, but it's gone. The season is over. It almost doesn't matter what I have to say about it at this stage, as everything has been removed. All this effort that the developers and the Simpsons team put into this was for content that was only available for 4 weeks. Fortnite incorporates franchises into the game frequently, and they know how to bring in and satisfy fans from all these different brands, and they certainly tick that box for The Simpsons. It's a game though that's main goal is to constantly bring in money. Live service sacrifices availability to generate FOMO, and there's a level of disconnect you have to establish to be able to enjoy new Fortnite content. You have to be connected enough to care about what they add, but not enough to be annoyed when they take it away. Despite all of this, I can't deny the positives of a game that is constantly changing and updating. Every week in the mini-season, there were new things to do, and while I personally got bored before the end, every week had map changes, new characters, new quests, new weapons, and even new animated trailers. Did I enjoy my time with Fortnite? Yeah, I mostly did. Did they represent The Simpsons well? That's a big yes, despite me picking apart certain aspects. Would I ever want to play Fortnite again? Definitely not. Without the rest of the Simpsons content, the skins I own hold no value, my friends don't play Fortnite, and there are too many other games I would rather be playing. Fortnite recently added South Park into the game, which I did check out, and it only confirmed that I'm completely done with Fortnite. That's just my opinion, and I believe for people who were already playing Fortnite, this was a great season, and it breathed new life into the game and helped the fans enjoy Fortnite even more. For me though, I'm going back to playing proper Simpsons games instead. I normally rank each Simpsons game when I cover them, but despite this being the longest video in the series, it's not actually a Simpsons game. It was too important not to talk about, and it deserves to be discussed, but that doesn't mean I can justify putting it on the list. It certainly would rank quite highly if I did. I'm not going to lie to you and pretend that Escape from Camp Deadly on the Game Boy is better than this mini-season of Fortnite. Just on the basis that it had way more references than most Simpsons video games, it's better than most of the games on the list. It would be high, but it would be impossible to recommend to a fan because it's not a game, and it's not even something you can experience anymore. You are definitely better out seeking out Hit and Run, The Simpsons Arcade, or even Tapped Out for your Simpsons fix, rather than trying to get into Fortnite and praying that the skins are rotated back into the store. I'm grateful to this mini-season for 2 reasons. The first is that it was really nice to play as The Simpsons again in a modern video game. It's been far too long since we've been able to do that, and it did feel special controlling Simpsons characters while playing on my PS5. The second is that it made The Simpsons feel relevant again. The Simpsons have always had peaks and valleys when it comes to their popularity, like the peaks of Bartmania and The Simpsons movie, but they have somewhat been coasting for a while now. Thanks to The Simpsons being on Disney+, making the show more accessible than ever, the announcement of a second film, and the general sentiment being that modern Simpsons is good again, they were in a prime place to experience another wave of popularity. During the first weekend of The Simpsons mini-season, the servers crashed due to how many people were playing, with public data showing 2.6 million people playing Fortnite during that weekend. I loved seeing people getting excited about the show, which included fans from all generations. With Fortnite players typically skewing younger, this mini-season may have inspired a new wave of younger Simpsons fans. Who knows if that's truly the case, but whatever happens with the show, the movie, and hopefully new video games, the Fortnite mini-season has helped put the franchise in a great position for whatever's coming next. And that was the Simpsons mini-season in Fortnite. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this look at the mini-season, please consider giving this video a like or leaving a comment below. I'll see you next time for the Simpsons Bowling. There's going to be a bit of whiplash going from a modern live service game to an arcade machine, but I'm ready to take it easy with a game of bowling where I don't have to stress about any FOMO.